your camera full screen and not have to.
Well, who was punished last night? Who got the better end of the deal? What is your reaction, Tolos, to the latest college football playoff rankings, again, that were released last night? And now we only have to wait a few more days until the final set of rankings that will come out on Sunday. But last night's rankings are out. That is where we start. What happened to Ole Miss? Did the plane land back in Oxford in time for Ole Miss not to get punished, Diesel? That is where we begin the show today. Welcome into Wire to Wire. I'm Cole Bryce, and he's Diesel, and we are live today, right now, at 1500 Poinsette Highway in Greenville. It's the Cherrydale location. We'd love to see you here until 6:30 p.m. tonight. Evan, do we have gift cards today? Let's see. We believe we do.
I think we do.
We believe so. Let's reach deep in our pockets and see. Yes, we do have gift cards to give away.
We're going to take it out of
Here we
Evan's
go.
pocket.
Here we go. Ready?
Look at that.
Oh, there
my
we go.
goodness.
There they are.
A
Eagles gift
cavalcade.
cards. So if you want one, come by and get one here at Eagles Markets. But Diesel, were you surprised that Ole Miss did not get punished last night?
I am. I mean, think about how much is changing for this Ole Miss team. They're going to have a new head coach who is not used to making those kinds of decisions. He's going to have to learn real quick. He's going to have to learn on the job. Talking about P. Golding, the DC that's now the head coach. And there's going to be some shuffling at the play calling. I've been trying to dig into who really calls the plays at Ole Miss. Was it the OC that went to LSU and then has now come back to Ole Miss to coach in this game? Or was it Lane Kiffin? And the internet's kind of split 50-50. I mean, yeah, they had an offensive coordinator, but Lane Kiffin was heavily involved in the play calling, and it was ultimately Lane's decision, and he would very often override some of the play calls in these games. He was doing a phenomenal job at it, but still, I mean, if the OC is only calling 25% of the plays, now he's going to have to step up and call 100% of the plays. So it's changing some things.
And, there's not enough being made about that, in my opinion, from the national media. I'm not saying that all of a sudden an offensive coordinator doesn't know how to call plays, but think about it. If Lane Kiffin did call plays, and I believe that I lean toward the side of him calling plays, just kind of assuming the kind of guy that he is, like, wanting to have control over the offense. And sure, yeah, Charlie Weiss Jr. may have gotten a play call in here and there sporadically throughout a game, but I would imagine that Lane Kiffin, like you said, Diesel, has the ultimate say in terms of what play call goes in and out. So, number one, I'm with you. I was surprised they weren't punished even maybe just a little bit. It doesn't look like, according to the rankings, that they were punished at all. But I will say I don't think there's enough being made about that, because let's say, for example, if Lane Kiffin now at LSU were to call the plays, if he were to be the one that were calling the plays, Diesel, if now Charlie Weiss Jr. is in a little bit different of a role than he was at the very beginning, even though, like you said, he's involved in the game planning, he's involved in the offensive execution, there is something to be said about being the one wearing the big boy headset. Ultimately, he's now wearing, like I know Pete Golding, the DC's the head coach now, but that doesn't matter in terms of offense. Pete Golding's going to have, like, those headsets, they have an option for defense, offense, special team. He's going to be on a different channel than Charlie Weiss. So who's going to be there with Charlie Weiss to help guide him? I think maybe we're not making a big enough story about that.
Well, I mean, at least you could say that Charlie Weiss Jr. is essentially stepping back into his old role as the offensive coordinator for Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And he's not also being tasked with making head coaching decisions. So, and that's going to fall on Pete Golding, right? That makes things harder on him. But as far as the offense, if you silo just the offensive side of the football, maybe things are not changing as much as we think they are. And maybe, Cole, at the end of the day, this is the committee sort of setting a precedent and saying, we're not going to punish teams who are losing head coaches going into the college football playoff. And everybody's made a big deal about what the playoff committee has done in the past, as if it's some sort of hard and fast rule. Well, none of these things are rules. Precedent is precedent, but precedent doesn't mean that it's going to be that way every week, every year in the future. I mean, The precedent has been set that a team that gets into their conference championship game but loses is not going to be punished heavily. Well, what if that team loses by a lot? What if that team gets blown out? What if Alabama gets beaten by 21 points or more against Georgia? I mean, you can't say that shouldn't affect the college football playoff rankings, and especially when you've got worthy teams sitting on the outside talking about you, Miami, talking about you, Texas, talking about you, Vanderbilt. I mean, if Alabama gets absolutely smacked by Georgia in the conference championship game, well, you could say maybe Alabama should drop from 9 to 12 and let a couple of teams that have 10 wins or 11 wins jump them.
Quick poll, because you sparked this in my head when we were talking about it a minute ago. Yes or no, Tolos, quick poll at 844-326-3663. Also, for those 35 already watching the stream, watching the show, where you can watch live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at The Fan Upstate. But want to hear from you at 844-326-3663. Very simply put, yes or no. These will start with you. Should a team be punished for not having their head coach by the playoff committee?
No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't be, because the players are the ones out on the field making the plays. And I don't want to – I mean, we're going to see this probably year in and year out until the calendar changes.
Yeah. And
we don't know if that's ever going to happen. I mean, you're always going to see coordinators at playoff caliber teams leaving.
Yeah.
I just saw earlier today that Ohio State's offensive coordinator is leaving to take a job. Ohio State's not going to be a whole football team. Don't know yet. Haven't found out if he's going to be allowed to stay and coach in the college football playoff. But I mean, are we going to do this every year to like 5 teams every year?
Well, I think to answer my question, I go back to what you said a minute ago, and Madcraft kind of brought this up on the stream as well. He says yes, because the committee set the standard with Florida State, talking about Jordan Travis. I think there's 2 ways to look at this. Number one, do you look at it from the standpoint that the committee has to be consistent every single year on certain viewpoints, and they are not allowed to be fluid and change whatsoever? Or do you view it from the standpoint that I think I do? Maybe I'm undecided, Diesel, that I want the committee to have a little bit of fluidity and allow their opinions to be changed. Not saying like the field goal post moved year after year, but if we set a standard one year, we have to go by that standard. I tie that in to say what Matt Kraft brought up. They did punish Florida State. Jordan Travis. If they're following the same exact standard, who knows if it's even the same committee members, right?
Right.
If they're following, nothing changes at all. But then you could argue, well, Cole Diesel, it's a head coach. It's not a quarterback. A quarterback touches the football every single offensive play, and that matters.
Well, and it's a quarterback, not a left guard. It's a quarterback, not a long snapper, right? Your importance to the team is directly proportional to how close you are to the football when it gets snapped. And Madcraft, he's saying it's in their principles, it's on their website. I'm smelling lawsuits. Look, you have to have a layer of flexibility or the ability to be flexible built into this thing, because if not, you end up with the situation that we're seeing play out in the ACC championship game right now, sending a 5-loss Duke to the championship because a weird, rigid set of rules boxed them in and said, sorry, you can't send Miami to the ACC championship game because of relative opponent strength of schedule or whatever weird thing is. You see, if you try to create this many rules and if you try to hold them to a very rigid set of precedents that they've set in the past, then you get into that situation that the ACC is in. And then why even have conference championship games at that point? If those can't change anything, why have them?
Matt Kraft says it cannot be fluid because scheduling happens years in advance. That would purely be unfair. And again, when I say fluid, when we talk about fluidity from the committee members, I think it's more from the aspect of, okay, we truly, Diesel, have to evaluate this year by year, situation by situation, game by game, player by player, and even play by play. That's how fluid you have to be. And so, I understand to Matt Kraft and other fans out there who are upset about it, I understand their point of, they punished Florida State, so they've got to punish Ole Miss. Look, I'm with you, but do we want to every single year set that same standard so that from years to come or in years to come, we're not allowing anything to be different? I don't know that that's a great place to be. I think when we all can realize and understand, Diesel, that there are many, 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 many issues with this college football playoff and many, 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 many issues with college football in general, we have to kind of bring ourselves to the place of, are we really surprised? Are we really surprised that we're having these conversations, that we can't agree on anything? Yeah. I mean, this is a messy sport, Diesel, that it has become.
How about this? How about we just and Madcraft's very upset about the ACC bylaws and the rules and how you arrive at the tiebreaker. How about this? We make it the record is criteria number 1. Their head-to-head is criteria number 2, and if they're still tied, criteria 3 is Madcraft's opinion.
Well,
can we do that? Would that make Madcraft happy?
And again, but your criteria, you shouldn't have said that, because I know what comment he's going to say when you bring up that criteria. He's going to say, well, why is Notre Dame ahead of us based on that criteria? Because if you look at the rankings that came out last night, you look, okay, Notre Dame is 10, Miami's 12. Well, guess what? Yeah, Miami, they have, let's see, I'm looking at the records now. They have the same record. Yeah. Head-to-head, Miami beat them. That should matter, right?
They did. So when you look at resumes, and see, I think a lot of people probably feel this way too, this whole thing is a giant soap opera. They've gotten themselves, and unfortunately it's a soap opera that sometimes does box the committee in a little bit. They have set this thing up to be dramatic. They have set it up to get people talking when they do their rankings release show every Tuesday evening, and then they just hope that miraculously things fall into place for them right before the end. And a lot of times they do, because the teams lose games down the stretch.
Yeah.
But here's how it's going to work. You got Texas Tech, BYU in the Big 12 championship game. if Texas Tech wins that football game, and I haven't looked to see yet what the spread is in that game, but Texas Tech is
12.5
is going to be favored.
No.
12.5.
Yeah,
You're right.
12.5.
Texas Tech favored by 12.5. If Texas Tech goes ahead and handles business and beats BYU, especially if they smoke BYU, let's say, like I was saying before, a 3-touchdown differential.
I think they could.
How do you not lower BYU, drop them in the rankings, and then you put Notre Dame and Miami side by side in the rankings? Somebody above them is also going to lose because it's conference championship games, but right directly in front of them, BYU is sandwiched between Notre Dame and Miami right now. BYU loses badly, then you have to put Notre Dame, BYU side by side, and then now you're in a position where you can set up that direct head-to-head comparison of like, all right, we're talking about 10 and 11, and the number 11 team beat the number 10 team head-to-head.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I want to go to a conversation, Diesel, that I had this morning with a friend of mine. He's an assistant coach in college football. And we were talking about this. And I'm lucky enough to bounce, my opinions off of him, and I get to hear his opinions. And obviously with him being an assistant college football coach, he knows far more than I know, right? But I'll tell you this. It's funny with these teams that we're always having the conversation about being on the bubble. Who's being treated unfairly? Who should be getting in? Who's being left out? Are those teams going to win it all? Do we believe that those teams are going to win it all?
Probably
or
not.
Are those teams just the ones that are on the outside looking in?
Yeah, cannon fodder, basically.
Right. And when it's all said and done, like he brought up the point to me this morning, he said, Cole, think about it. Miami. Even a team like Texas, and Texas is playing a lot better football now than they were, but take Miami, for example. Do you truly believe, and I know we have a few Miami fans that are Tolos, and Madcraft included, you, just like last season, could not handle business along the way. In your heart of hearts, Madcraft and other Miami fans out there, and even Notre Dame fans, I think this applies to Leprechaun of Lyman as well, because Notre Dame, I put in the same category. Notre Dame and Miami. Do you truly believe in your heart of hearts that you have a national championship team? Do you truly believe that your team can go win a national championship, win multiple college football playoff games? I know you're screaming at me right now saying, Cole, that shouldn't matter. You get so much money and benefit from just getting in the dance. I get that. But at the end of the day, we have to understand, and I think this is the committee's job. Ultimately, Diesel, the committee's job and responsibility is to understand that taking care of business along the way either matters or doesn't matter. And for 2 years in a row now, and for this year for Notre Dame, Miami 2 years in a row, Notre Dame this year, those two teams have not taken care of business, period.
Well, look, all this is so new. The 12-team playoff is so new. And you question whether or not a 12 seed could go win it all. And the answer is very unlikely. But it is possible. I went back and I looked, and this is the only kind of comparison that we can make here. If you look at the last 20 years of the FCS playoffs, the lowest seeded FCS champion ever was an 11 seed in UMass. They won it in 1998. An 8 seed has won it, a 7 seed has won it, a 6 and a 5 seed have won the national championship in that 16-team playoff structure. So is it going to happen very often? No. In most years, the 1, 2, 3, maybe a 4 seed is going to win this whole thing.
Yeah.
But occasionally it will happen. And to Madcraft's point, to my selfish point of getting a G5 team in there and demanding that a G5 have a seat at that table, is you don't realize what kind of marketing and money and hype and juice that you can get from even being in the playoff. Even if you don't win it, even if you are the G5 and you're the 12 seed and you go out there and you get pounded by 50 points in the 1-12 matchup, at least you were in there.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, is to maybe improve what you do and get money and get attention, and all of a sudden next year you're good enough to be in there as a 10 seed.
I got a feeling we might go a few minutes over. Madcraft's on line one. He wants to weigh in. I'm sure he is upset, angry, and not happy with us. Let's go to the phone lines. Tolos, get in at 844-326-3663. Madcraft, are we wrong?
Well, no, I'm not upset. And,
I have a heart attack.
I had a conversation with Diesel, and look, I knew that I think the committee saved face in their move last night because I got two questions for you, and I'm going to answer what you said earlier, Cole. But I got one quick question. If you have Notre Dame beating the brakes off of Stanford, and then you have Alabama kind of struggling with an Auburn team, and let's be real, you can call it a rivalry. Auburn is crap this year. Let's just be real. Can you tell me why there would be a justification of making that flip? I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, you can't.
What are you asking, Matt Kraft? What are you asking?
Well, I'm saying, why did the committee flip Alabama and Notre Dame? And the reason why is because, and like I told Diesel the other night, I said the committee had to do one of two things. They either had to move Miami up one again, or do what they did, which was flip Alabama and Notre Dame. And the committee telling you something. What Diesel started the show with, I'm sorry, Alabama's a loss. It doesn't matter if they get blown out. Alabama's in the playoffs. The committee just proved that to you. And what they did was allow Notre Dame and Miami to get closer together. So now, if BYU loses to Texas Tech, you have Notre Dame and Miami together. You can't ignore it. The committee, all they did was save face. But I do have a question for you to answer your. An answer for your question, Carl.
Yeah.
And it comes in the form of question. Okay. Of the committee, we're going to take the top 12 and the bubble team. So let's say the top 15 of last night's ranking, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Of those 15 teams, does Notre Dame have a top 15 win?
No.
Okay. Does Miami?
Miami has a win over Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Okay. Point proven. So my case.
So Madcraft here, and I'm gonna make your point. I'm gonna make your point for you.
We can play with playoff teams.
Yeah, Madcraft. I'm gonna make your point for you, and I appreciate the phone call. We're gonna let you go here. When you look at their resume, head-to-head resume, Notre Dame has wins against number 20 USC, Navy, and on the road at number 22.
Yeah.
Miami has wins over number 6 Notre Dame, number 18 South Florida, and number 18 Florida State. Oh,
sure.
Excuse me, and also number 22 Pitt.
Uh-huh.
Now, for Miami, it hurts them that South Florida turned out to be kind of a paper tiger. Florida State turned out to be a paper tiger. You go by the rankings that they were at the time. You kind of also factor in what happened down the stretch. South Florida and Florida State fell off, especially Florida State. South Florida's still pretty good, but they're not right there in that conversation either. So if you want to look at resumes at the end of the season, you're talking about Notre Dame wins over Notre Dame and really over Pitt, because the other wins for Miami don't look so good. The win over Florida State doesn't look that good. But to his point, you have to look at the head-to-head. I think their resumes are so equal, very, very close to one another. And I'm with Madcraft. I don't understand why the head-to-head doesn't matter to them.
No. I want to be very clear. I am on the same page, the same wavelengths. I'm on the same sheet of music as anybody, Diesel, Madcraft, who says that Miami should be ranked ahead of Notre Dame because of a head-to-head matchup. Head-to-head matchups matter. However, I very clearly asked Madcraft, in his heart of hearts, does he believe this team is a national championship team? If you believe so, then you believe, okay, I can be invited to the dance. I'm not being treated unfairly. His answer to me was, we beat Notre Dame so we can play with playoff teams. He didn't answer the question of if I think or if he thinks Miami can win a national championship. Boise State made the playoff last year. SMU made the playoff last year. Neither one of those teams, Diesel, were sniffing a national championship. There's a difference. And that goes back to my point that I've said for 2 years now. You expand the playoffs to let teams in who aren't as good, and your outcome 9 out of 10 times is still going to be the same 4 teams that were there when we had the 4-team playoff.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change.
So I'm surprised Madcraft hasn't become an advocate of expanding this thing to 16 teams, because his team is always sitting right there on the outside, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I mean, you expand this thing to 16, and I get how convoluted the system we have is. And a lot of people make the point, this is a made-for-television show, not a tournament of the best 12 teams. Well, if that's what you want, then we got to undo all of it. You got to probably pay off the G5s to make them go away and fund their own tournament for national championship. If that's what you got to do, then do it. But we have this convoluted system of conference champions have to get in, and then we got to do then we got to do play-ins, and then we got to, it goes back to the conversation of the BCS. We had the BCS, though the computers would tell you very clear and cold, this is number 1, this is number 2, they're playing for a national championship. And then the college football fandom world said, no. We want to add in an element of intrigue, of mystique, of humanity, so that people could sit in a room and override the data and override everybody's opinions with their own opinions. And look at the room that we're in now.
But the last thing I'll say, and this is putting a bow on this entire conversation for upset Miami fans, for Notre Dame fans, whoever it is, you want to know what the cheat code is? You want to know what the ultimatum is? The cheat code to getting around everything you just said, which is true about it being a show, more so than just a true playoff format. The cheat code is win the games you're supposed to win.
Win your conference.
Period.
Yeah.
You win the games you're supposed to win. You take care of business during the regular season. Hey, ask Indiana right now. Are Indiana fans upset about anything? Are Ohio State fans upset about anything? No, because they've handled business along the way.
What do coaches say all the time? When games get tight and you maybe have to leave it up to the referees and a opinion, leave no doubt.
Yeah.
Leave no doubt. And Miami, unfortunately, has left enough doubt, especially when you take into consideration that they're playing in a weak ACC, and Notre Dame has gotten to play a more national schedule that those committee members seem to respect more than what Miami did against the ACC. At this point, maybe you should schedule to go undefeated.
Hey, and do you hear Clemson fans upset because they're not in the playoff? No, because they left no doubt. They left no doubt that they were horrible. They didn't deserve to be there. They weren't even close to being good enough. You have to either one way or another leave no doubt.
Well, a lot of teams are trying to right that ship. Clemson trying to right that ship. It is National Signing Day. We're going to take a look at what's going on with the Clemson Tigers, with the South Carolina Gamecocks, and some other upstate area commits. Who are they signing with to play their college ball next year? We'll take a quick look at that. And, what's going on at Penn State next?
Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Oh my, times are real tough up in Happy Valley in Pennsylvania, Cole. Things on the recruiting trail are dire for the Penn State Nittany Lions. And how did we get in this situation? Well, a fan base got real twitchy, and a fan base made the decision to get rid of a coach that had won 34 games over the past 3 seasons. And now they are in a spot, Cole, where they have two signees for the 2026 class. And James Franklin at Virginia Tech is picking apart what appeared to be an absolutely stellar class for the Nittany Lions in 2026. This is what happens, Cole, when you let fans and emotional fans make decisions on coaching hires. This is the room that you find yourself in. Penn State was the first team to fire their head coach this season. They got shot down by Kurt Cignetti. They got shot down by Mike Elko. They got shot down by Kalani Sitake. And who knows who else they might have interviewed who signed a new contract and extended their deals at their existing schools. But, man, things are in a rough spot up there.
You know, I think it's interesting. You said just a second ago Penn State was the first. Penn State was the first to do it. And I think it's very important that if you're going to make a decision like this, if you're going to fire your coach, I think if you're going to be the first to do it, you've got to be the first to make a hire. And Penn State sat around on their hands, and Diesel, I think they just watched all these other coaches get hired. And I don't know that Penn State, look, I don't know that firing Franklin was their biggest mistake. I think their biggest mistake might have been not having a game plan of what to do if you fire James Franklin.
Yeah.
And right now, guess what? It's proving to be true that they didn't have a game plan. Now, I was very surprised by something today. When the news came across earlier that USF Diesel is expected to hire Brian Hartline, offensive coordinator for Ohio State. Among coaching circles, Brian Hartline is very, very well respected as an offensive play caller and a head coach, right? He's now getting his shot at USF. I was very surprised today, and I thought about this for like a good 10 minutes. Penn State, Diesel, you said it. They were the first to make their firing. Brian Hartline on December the 3rd got hired by USF. How do you not allow that guy? How do you not hire that guy?
Well, they just pulled a guy from Ohio State last year.
Yeah.
When they lost their DC, they hired Jim Knowles away from Ohio State. So why could they not make that be the pipeline, right? How could they not find a way to pull Brian Hartline away from Ohio State? Get the band back together. Who knows if Jim Knowles will stick around and be the Penn State DC again next year or not? But if they like each other, now we got to know if those two guys like each other. If you could get the old OC and DC from last year's national championship winning team back together in the same conference at a powerhouse program at Penn State that's got a ton of money, oh my God, that seems like a playoff caliber program next year. But I think Penn State thought that their reputation, we're Penn State, would be able to get them basically anybody they wanted. I think they also didn't in a million years expect LSU to fire its head coach. Now, you could expect Florida was going to fire Billy Napier, and you could expect the Arkansas job was going to come open, and the Auburn job was going to come open. And they got some good candidates and made some good hires. I guess, we'll see if they make good hires over the next couple of years. But I think Penn State thought that everybody was going to be tripping over themselves to take that job.
Well, look,
and that has not been the case at all.
If I leave this radio station tomorrow, it's probably a pretty good idea for me to have a plan in place before I leave as to what I'm going to do, right? 52 days have gone by since James Franklin was fired. Penn State has had 52 days, and in 52 days, they have not made a hire. And again, I'm not saying firing James Franklin was the biggest decision. I'm saying not having a plan in place before you fire James Franklin is ultimately what's going to cost you. Diesel, you just can't let 52 days go by. Are you kidding me?
How do you not, if you get down the list and you still don't have anybody, How do you let the James Madison coach get away and go all the way across the country to UCLA? I mean, he's right there. But I think that also kind of ties in with some fans and some administrators turn up their nose at Group of 5 head coaches, even if they're having a tremendous amount of success at their Group of 5 programs. Oh, we're too good to hire a G5 head coach. We are the kind of program that OCs will trip over themselves to come and get a job here, or former head coaches will trip over themselves to come get a job here. And it's proven that they're not. Meanwhile, James Franklin absolutely gutting that class. Virginia Tech, which has been awful for a long time, is currently sitting at the number 22 class in America. 9 players have flipped off of that Penn State roster to come with him to Blacksburg, including 4-star running back Messiah Mickens, 4-star quarterback Troy Hune, 4-star wide receiver Davian Brown, 4-star tight end Pierce Peterson. I mean, James Franklin is crushing it out of the high school ranks. I think he's going to get a lot of guys portaling off of that Penn State roster to come with him to Blacksburg as well. I think this team, think about this. If you're just basically taking all of this year's Penn State team or the best pieces of this Penn State team and you're plopping them in the ACC, they have a very good chance of winning 8 games next year.
And you think about what else is now going to hurt Penn State, Diesel, because of what you just said in this transactional college football era that we're now in. You fired your coach in the middle of October, and now not only, Diesel, do you not have a coach, next year's a watch. Next year is a complete watch because think about it. You've lost your roster. You have no coach. Is Jim Knowles going to be just promoted? I don't know.
You're been a head coach before?
I don't know. And now you're not going to have a roster for 2026. So, again, going back to what I said, not having a plan in place not only hurt your coaching decision, your coaching hire, but now 2026, because this is 2025. Right? We are in 2025.
About 27 more days.
I just had one of those what year is it moments.
Yeah.
That's just how that's my brain for you. 2026 is a watch for Penn State, and that's detrimental. Well, we need to get Jay Paterno back on.
And it begs the question, if they haven't promoted Jim Knowles to the head coach, who, by the way, has been a head coach before from 2004 to 2009 at his alma mater, Cornell.
Oh, yeah.
If they haven't promoted him to head coach, maybe he doesn't want the gig. Maybe he doesn't want it. He's like, you know what? I just want to be a DC. I don't want to have to worry about that kind of stuff.
But you remember when we had Jay Paterno on the show, I think Franklin was fired like October 25th, something like that. We had Jay Paterno on like the next day.
Yeah.
Well, then, a day or two we had Jay. And Jay was very, not like cocky, but Jay was very adamant that, we feel like we've got a really good opportunity here. And I even joked about it that day with him. I was like, hey, Jay, you coached before. You want to get back in the coach? Maybe it's not a joke anymore. I need to shoot him a text and say, hey, are you going to coach? You may have to.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
As of right now, they're still rolling with an interim head coach in Terry Smith. And I don't know that this has ever happened before. I can't think of an instance when it did, Cole, but I've seen it floated that maybe Terry Smith stays on for all of 2026 as the interim coach, so that they can get a jump start on the end of the 2026 coaching carousel.
I honestly don't think that's a terrible move. I don't, because going back to what I just said, what did I just say? 2026 is a wash. It's done. You're not doing anything in 2026. If the end goal is already set, we know what you're going to be because of the roster and who you've lost. I don't hate that idea. The worst case, if you think about it, what's his name? Terry Smith. If Terry stays on,
Scary Terry.
Yeah, the best thing happened. The best thing that happens is Terry finds himself, and we all realize that Terry's a head coaching candidate. The worst thing that happens is, you're in the same spot you were in a year ago. So I'm usually not a fan of doing that. In Penn State's case, do you care more about having a coach now today, Diesel, or waiting a year for that delayed gratification of getting the right guy?
Well, Terry Smith has never been a Division I coordinator. I think he was their wide receivers coach. He's been elevated to the interim head coaching job. Maybe he finds some success. Maybe to me, this feels a little bit like the Steve Wilkes situation when he was still in Carolina, when nobody expected him to get the job. Now, granted, he was finishing out a season instead of going into an offseason and possibly starting the next season as an interim head coach. But I mean, maybe Terry Smith finds some success and they get lucky, because that's what it would be. It would be getting lucky to run with this situation and find some success in it, especially now that the Big Ten is getting better and better, and your recruiting class out of high school is buns. Looking at the recruiting classes for Clemson and South Carolina, Clemson right now sitting at the number 19 spot, which is not good. It's not good enough probably to get you in the playoff next year, but they've got a couple of 4-star guys. Going to shout out some of these dudes. A 4-star wide receiver, Naeem Burrows, coming out of Jacksonville. They got a safety, Contavious Anderson from Dorman, who's going to be a really good player. 4-star and Chancellor Barclay from Orlando. Connor Salmon from Potomac, Maryland. How about Gordon Sellers from Providence Day School in Charlotte? So Clemson kind of doing what Clemson does and having that national recruiting footprint. Again, guys from Florida, Maryland, Virginia, Ohio, North Carolina, West Virginia, Arizona. That's Tate Reynolds, by the way, the 3-star quarterback. So they're kind of going all over the place. Not a tremendous amount of focus here on the state of South Carolina or the upstate, but it's worth shouting out. And maybe you can give me a little insight on Contavious Anderson from Dorman, because he seems like a stud.
He's a dog. I mean, he's going to be a dude. He's going to be a guy that I think, and I could be wrong here, I think they're going to be able to get pretty quick ROI on Polo, is what they call him. I think that return is going to be pretty quick. I think he'll be a pretty good player, and I think he'll have to develop Diesel, as his time goes on at Clemson. But I say all that to say, I would imagine that with their secondary the way it is right now, and we'll see what happens when guys leave the program, I would imagine that he sees the field pretty quickly. I really think so.
Yeah, and on the opposing side of that Palmetto rivalry, South Carolina taking a very different approach. They are putting that wall up around South Carolina. That's been their MO. So Dabo doing what Dabo does, Shane doing what Shane does. Shane's got a lot of guys coming out of North and South Carolina. Again, 2 more guys that you can give us some insight on, both from South Point High School out of Rock Hill. Anthony Baxter and Jazavian Currents, 2 guys that are going to be playing for South Carolina.
Baxter's good. Currents is as good as it gets. Currents is as good as it gets in the state. I'm telling you, that guy's going to be – I think he's going to have a really good career. Obviously, Shane Beamer talked about today that they've got to get better up front on the line of scrimmage, in the trenches. That's his area of concern this offseason, and I think most Gamecock fans would agree with that they were really bad at the line of scrimmage, but he's a big impact kind of guy. I think he's going to be. I mean, he's one of the better high school players in the entire state. So
the one 5-star for the Gamecocks right now. He is the number 1 interior offensive lineman, number 1 in the state of Virginia. Obviously, Darius Gray. They need some elite guys at offense. They brought in a 4-star from Carvers Bay in Hemingway, South Carolina, Zion Giles. Not a ton of other offensive linemen. Let's see, Anthony Baxter, a 3-star guy. You just mentioned him out of South Point. So they're getting some help, but Shane Beamer's going to need some help out of the portal as well on the offensive line. Worth mentioning that there is Christian Waring from Dorman and Scotland Dover from Gaffney have both signed with Dowell Loggins at App State. Number 58.
2 good players, by the way.
Number 58 class nationally, number 1 in the Sun Belt. So shout out to Dowell getting it done on the recruiting trails.
Here locally, I mean, Dowell doing some homework right here in Spartanburg and Cherokee County. I think Scotland Dover at Gaffney is as good as it gets, but I'll tell you this, Christian Waring at Dorman, that guy wrecked offensive lines all year long. I mean, that kid is so good. He was a big reason as to why Dorman was as good as they were this year. Some news, Diesel, today about a now former, was just a few hours ago, current assistant coach at Clemson, now making his way to be a head coach, and we'll get to more headlines in a segment we call Daily Wires next.
Fan phone. This is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Well, we have some headlines to get to in this very segment. We call them Daily Wires. It's the buzz of what's happening. Diesel, Samford football coach, has officially announced John Grass will be its next head coach. Grass is a longtime Clemson assistant, serving as senior offensive assistant and quarterbacks coach. His son was also the quarterback at Daniel High School. So Clemson, one Clemson assistant heading to Samford to be their next head football coach. LSU assistant Charlie Weiss Jr., we talked about this yesterday, who joined Lane Kiffin with the Tigers earlier this week, will be allowed to return to Ole Miss and serve as the team's offensive coordinator through the college football playoff. Diesel Weiss, who has been the Rebels OC under Kiffin since 22, was among several assistants to immediately join Kiffin at LSU, but he will now return to Ole Miss and coach alongside Pete Golding, because that happens every day in college football, right?
Well, there is so much swirling about Lane Kiffin's exit from Ole Miss. It is getting nasty.
Oh, yeah, a lot of players coming out about it.
Yeah, players are refuting Lane Kiffin's claim that the players themselves wanted him to stay and coach in the CFP. And now the AD, Keith Carter, is disputing the timeline of when Kiffin said that he was told he couldn't coach the team in the postseason. He said a lot of things publicly that I'm not sure are totally accurate have come out of Lane Kiffin's mouth.
Eagles offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo said a line was crossed with the recent vandalism incident at his house because it involved his family. I think we would all imagine when vandalism happens, usually a line's crossed. He said, this is such a unique place to coach and play. It's very special, Patullo said during his weekly conference today. He said, we've been to 2 NFC championship games. We've won at Lincoln Financial Field, a Super Bowl, the parade. It's amazing atmosphere, but we have to handle, or he said, as coaches and players, we all know it's part of our job to handle criticism. It's perfectly acceptable to sit up here and talk about what's going on, how to fix it, but when it involves your family, obviously it crosses the line. This just goes to show what I've been saying my entire life. It's not Philadelphia. It's Philadelphia. It's the worst fan base in America. It's the most delusional fan base. It's the worst team in America. Nobody likes the Phillies, the Eagles, the Flyers, anything Philly related. Nobody likes them. Are you kidding me?
Lock your doors, get a dog, increase your security system. I don't know what it's going to take. These players, coaches, owners, they gotta circle the wagons at home, you know?
Ohio State offensive coordinator Brian Hartline has been named the new head coach at South Florida. Hartline agreed to a 6-year deal. The expectation, Diesel, is that Hartline will remain with the Buckeyes for the remainder of the postseason. He said, becoming a first-year head coach at a place like USF is a dream come true for me and my family. I look forward to leading the team to new heights, both on and off the field. So for the second year in a row, Ryan Day is having to replace an OC.
Well, he's at that point, I think, where he can get just about whoever he wants, right?
Garrett Riley? No.
I don't think he wants Garrett Riley.
A few more for you. College basketball last night. Duke defeated Florida. What a game that was, 67-66. North Carolina defeated Kentucky 67-64. And Virginia Tech in overtime defeated South Carolina 86-83. ACC coming out on top in day one of the ACC, the SEC ACC Challenge, Diesel. The ACC won 6 of the 9 matchups. Speaking of ACC versus SEC, Clemson will face number 12 Alabama tonight on the road at 7:15. That's a big game.
Yeah, get this win, and Clemson is I think pretty assured to be a ranked team in a couple of days. I mean, I don't understand how Clemson is 7-1 and unranked when you got all these other teams like Alabama and Indiana and Louisville who have played the same set of nobodies that the Tigers have played. And they're all ranked teams.
Yeah.
Reputation means everything at this time of year.
And last one for you, New Orleans Pelican star Zion Williamson, former Spartanburg Day School Griffin. He'll miss extended time with a right adductor injury. Sources tell ESPN he'll be reevaluated in 3 weeks.
Bust. He's a bust. Zion's a bust. Yeah. Come on, guys. I don't understand why the New Orleans Pelicans keep putting up with this crap. Get him off the team, cut him, trade him, do what you got to do. Just move on
Well,
from the Zion Williamson thing because the guy sucks and he never plays.
I'll say this. I think when you use the word bust relative to his expectations, yes, he's not living up to near what his expectations were. So in that sense, yes, he's a bust. I still think he's a valuable NBA player, but the expectations that he had placed on him and what he's living up to, not even close.
Well, how about this? You just don't play him the entire regular season. If you make the playoffs, he's available.
There you go,
and
maybe.
hopefully he can stay healthy through the
I like
playoffs.
that.
When we come back, it is time to hear from the marketing director of Ingles Markets, Melissa Level, going to join us on the other side of the break. Well, we are just constantly learning new things about our next guest, Melissa Level, Marketing Director of Ingles. As you know, if you've listened to the show for a long time, she was a Florida State cheerleader. She was a Tampa Bay Buccaneers cheerleader. She was a circus performer. And now we found out that you were a mermaid.
That's right.
God.
Listen,
What skills don't you
listen,
have?
I love it when I said, "Do you ever heard of Wiki Watching?" But no, because that shows how old I am. Okay, that just tells you exactly how old I am.
Florida
I'm-
has
it's just
so
so
many
good.
roadside attractions.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah.
what it was. I
Wow.
can wrestle alligators though.
So Melissa
She
was
can
a
do it
mermaid.
all.
Yeah,
She can
How
do it
about
all.
that?
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, little tube that came down. It was underwater theater. A lot of fun. You know, see, when you're in the circus school, you can do a lot of these fun jobs in the summer. And I had to do anything in the world that was legal to make money, right? Okay. And so anyway, so we were poor, right? So I mean, I loved it. I mean, a lot of fun. But mascot was a lot of fun too.
That's a lot of fun. Before we get too deep into this, we're going to have some fun over the next 10 or 15 minutes with Melissa. I want to get serious here for a moment, Melissa, okay?
Yeah, I know.
We have a listener who is listening right now. I know for a
Right.
fact that he's listening right now. He's a very special listener
Uh-huh.
who's going through a real tough time
Okay.
in his life. And I wanted to see if you could cheer him up, send him a message to get him smiling again, because he is a Miami fan. And he is distraught because there's a very good chance Miami gets left out of the college
You
football
wonder
playoff
why?
again.
I wonder why.
Again. It's, I
Okay.
blame it on upbringing.
Shots
to be honest.
fired.
I
But-
bring it on. I blame it on the governor of the state of Florida and Disney.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
well-
because Disney does own ESPN, right? Okay.
As somebody whose team was left out of the college football playoff,
Yes.
and you've had to deal with this before, can you send some words of encouragement to
Alcohol?
Madcraft? There you go. Drink, Madcraft. You hear that? Drink.
I think you really do have to state it. You have
Yeah.
to say it. Okay. You have to let your team know you're still behind them. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Because I don't think it's their fault. I do believe that. I mean, even Marco Rubio yesterday said if they get left out of the playoffs, Marco Rubio from
Sure.
Miami said if they get left out of the playoffs, he's going to have to President Trump intervene to make something happen with it. Okay.
Is that where we want sports to be?
No, we don't. But
No.
but I want to say that's how people know that the state of Florida right now.
Well, hey, Melissa, how about win the games you're supposed to win? They lost 2 games. We talked about it earlier.
Or how about win every game and still get knocked out?
They won't. Well,
That's what happened to us.
They
Okay.
lost two conference games.
Right. But there's a lot of Alabama, for crying out loud, lost to Florida State. And
Yeah.
it's probably going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So should the what do you think the weight should be put on? Should it be where you're ranked at the end of the season, which looks at your total body of work, as far as the teams you've played, won and lost to, total body of work, because anything could happen after you play a team, or should it be more focused on the game or two around when you played them, where they were ranked
No.
at the time versus where they're ranked at the end of the season?
No, I think it's the conference champion, first of all, of each of the conferences.
Yeah.
Even not just Power 4 now, or 3 or whatever there's, how many conferences there are now, but also all the other conferences. I think those conference champions should be in there. And then I also think it should be based on an overall record. I do not think it should be an individual player that makes the decision. For example, for Florida State, it was, well, Jordan Travis was gone. You guys were going to be terrible. I mean, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We went on to win 2 more games.
Yeah.
We beat Florida and won the ACC championship without him, but we still got knocked out. So I think it's not based on a player. I think it's based on a team. Maybe it's stats. If you have a tie, you can
Sure.
look at, conference versus non-conference wins. I think there is value to wins. Okay. I think, it's Florida State, Miami was a much better win for us than, North Alabama, right? Okay, but I mean, those make a difference.
Let me ask you this crazy question. And I don't know why this wasn't talked about. This is not like advocating lying by any stretch of the imagination, but we saw yesterday the offensive coordinator for Ole Miss, who went with Lane Kiffin to LSU, go back to Ole Miss so his team could not be penalized last night in the college football
He
playoff.
said he was going to go
rankings.
back. He's still going to go to LSU eventually.
So
but
they
he's gonna
were
go coach.
right. So they were tailoring basically the outcome by sending him back. They didn't want Ole Miss to be penalized.
Right.
I wonder if I kind
Why
of
didn't Lane Kiffin stay until the end of his season?
well they wouldn't
Before-
let him.
Well, no, they
Ole
wouldn't-
Miss wouldn't let him.
Okay, well, because I'm saying, we're asking our players now
Yeah.
that, when you sign NIL, that you have to stay through the time.
Yeah.
So I think if your coach gets offered a great NIL deal, which is basically what
Yeah.
this was, then I think that they should have to stay too. But if
Let me-
if they didn't want him to stay, I get that.
Let me ask you this though. Let's say a Jordan Travis scenario happens again where a player gets hurt before the playoff. Do you think Florida State, and again, not advocating for lying, do you think they regret how they handled that? I'm not saying like you don't let them go to the doctor. But, like, if I'm the head coach, maybe this is horrible that I'm thinking this way. I'm not telling a soul that guy's injured.
Absolutely.
Not telling a soul.
That happens in the NFL all the time.
Sure.
They've done tent there where you can't see what they're being taken. I mean,
so do you think that will happen with teams? Don't tell them.
You know, there's HIPAA rules too, right? You can hide behind the HIPAA rules.
Rush them off to a veterinarian in the middle of the night, not to an actual doctor.
Or just say, like,
a mafia doctor would be great.
Yeah,
you hear all those stories about, a mafia doctor.
Right.
You get the bullet out. No, I agree with you there because what I don't like is for sports commentators that are not on the field and not coaching a game, making a determination of what will happen to a team with or without a player. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I do not like people that are companies or corporations that own media enterprises to be able to have their foot on the pedal of who goes.
Conflict of interest.
Okay, to that. And that was definitely the situation with us. And if Miami happens again, it will definitely be that as well.
Should they sue? Should the University of Miami sue?
We tried. We couldn't do it, though. Remember, we tried to leave the ACC. We tried. So we lost.
Yeah.
You know, but the individual school has very little pull.
Right. Melissa, I know we've talked about Shane Beamer a lot with you, and I know you like the guy. I know a lot of people in the upstate, and a lot of he's a likable guy.
Right. I like his dad too.
There's no argument that he's not a likable guy, even though occasionally he does have some moments. But hey, don't we all? We were talking about this yesterday on the show. Shane Beamer kind of laid down a gauntlet last week when he said, I think this team is going to be in the playoff conversation next year.
Right.
So he's under the gun at this point.
Himself.
And yeah, those were Cole's words yesterday. He hung himself. Now he has to make the playoff next year, probably to retain his job into the 2027 season.
But he just bought himself an extra season.
Do you think he ought to be held accountable to that standard?
Oh, absolutely.
His words, his standard, and that's the way it's going to be.
Listen, he must know something. Okay, too, as far as having money, maybe NIL money, maybe some
he
kind of information, you know, kind of thing. But I sometimes set goals for myself that sound like they're going to be just absolutely unattainable, and I do so much better by doing that, and I make them public. I don't keep them to myself, right?
That's a good point.
All right, so I'm under the gun, right, to do it too. All right, look like a fool, right? And
pressure.
so I think the pressure you put on yourself is good pressure in some ways like that. And I think that he wants to do well.
Yeah.
He wants to do well.
I think you're right. Mm-hmm. By the way, Tolo's out there. We failed to mention 8 minutes ago, the Upset Picks Challenge is open at 844-326-3663. Diesel, real quick, only conference championship game, no Army-Navy game, right?
Correct. We made that decision since Army-Navy is not this weekend, it's next weekend. We had originally toyed with the idea of moving it to this weekend's picks so that we would have 10 games to choose from, but there's no point in stretching this thing out another week. So we're going to push Army-Navy into next week. So you've got the 9 conference championship games this weekend to choose from.
So Diesel asked you about Shane Beamer. On the flip side of the coin, with Dabo, Clemson, you guys obviously doing a lot with Clemson in terms of advertising and sponsorship. Do you feel like the Clemson, I don't want to say like the pressure is in a different spot than it was 10 years ago, because you've been around the area for a long time. You know what Clemson's done and their success, but just being involved with Clemson, do you feel that Clemson, the fans, the general vibe's different?
Actually, you're going to think I'm crazy. I think they don't care as much now. They just love their team. Okay.
Ooh. I
remember when it was, Tommy Bowden, right? Yeah. And we had the coaches shows in our stores. And people would come in literally yelling and screaming at him. Okay, I mean, there's like they could
dodging oranges.
Yeah, they could coach that team 10 million times better than he could, right? And now you have a certain respect.
Yeah. Okay,
and I think that respect of what they've been able to do, and knowing that it means so much to Dabo and to the school, I just don't. I think they're giving a lot more leeway than they did before.
Melissa, I don't know if you're aware of this. Today is National Signing Day. And Florida State is off to a real good start.
Yeah, I heard that.
They have the number 2 class in the ACC, just behind Miami. And Miami has a 5-star, 24 stars. Florida State has 12 4-stars. So it doesn't look like they're going to take nearly as big of a class. Do you think that anybody in Tallahassee is going to give Mike Norvell time to rebuild this the right way through high school recruits? Because then that would be essentially stretching them out for another 2 or 3 years to see results.
I think he's going to have to use the portal a lot more too and bring people in. I mean, he had great luck Castellanos. I mean, he was great. I mean, he made a good pick with that. He just didn't go far enough. But a lot of their money is going to have to be existing players that want to come and finish their career and maybe have an opportunity to win a championship. Maybe come up with a dream team, right?
Yeah. Can I interest you in Lenora Sellers?
Yes.
Because there's a lot of people who think he might be going in the portal.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You want him?
Yeah, I'll take him.
Okay.
I'll take him. And I'm gonna take Alabama over Georgia in the upset. Yeah.
Okay.
Melissa, we're gonna talk about this at 5:45, but I want to get your thoughts on it. I was a friend of mine who's a high school football coach asked me about this the other day and just brought it up, and I thought this was a really interesting conversation with Kurt Signetti. Do you think it's wild, in just in terms of where we are? You talked about NIL and Lane Kiffin leaving, and we'll dive more into Lane Kiffin, but do you realize, Melissa, that in 2023, which was just 2 years ago, Kurt Signetti was making $677,000,
Right.
which is a lot of money.
A lot of money,
A
right?
lot of money
That's right.
to us.
That's
a lot of
right.
money.
That's a lot of money.
That's over $500,000 a year.
Oh yeah, it's
Six-
almost three-quarters of a million.
Right.
Yeah.
677 is a lot of. That's a chunk of change, right? In 2 years, he goes from making $677,000 to $11.6 million a year in 2 years. Like, that is an astronomical change, going from James Madison
Right. Mm-hmm.
2 years later to being locked in Indiana.
Right.
What a world we
And-
live
and
in,
look-
right?
Look at Indiana.
Look at 'em.
I mean, for goodness sakes, I think they have a lot of.
They're good.
I think they're really good.
They're good.
Okay, and so I think you reward them. They rewarded Mike Norvell when he did so well before.
Sure.
You know, I mean, I think anything can happen. I think that what you're going to start to see now is you're going to see high school coaches start to get paid a lot more money as well, because I think now that you're going to be starting to recruiting.
Where's that money come from, though?
It's going to have to come through the education system or through alumni or associations of some sort.
Hmm.
But they're allowing NIL, right? Okay, they're allowing it, right, in the high schools, right? So that money's coming from somewhere right now. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think you're going to see coaches that develop these players being really sought after to stay in the high school realm, so they continue to develop players coming into the college.
I think the biggest takeaway from that will be whenever, and you're right, most states already do have NIL. When it enters South Carolina, if a coach who's worked his entire life to be the head coach and he's now making, let's say, $70,000 to $80,000, now all of a sudden he's got a player that's making that, and he's 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, they're going to have to change that.
That's going to be tough.
But they're also going to have to. It's going to be all about developing these high school players to go into the NIL system. Okay, and I think that's what's going to be a big deal. Yeah, you can't have high school players making that kind of money. Period. Okay, unless it puts in a trust or something. It ruins their lives.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm afraid to see it. I mean, there are many people that take advantage of the college players doing that right now. And down the road, unless you plan to stay in high school and college all your life, you're going to take a pay cut when you go to the NFL, if you go to the NFL, right?
Melissa, there's going to be some instability at Ohio State. Brian Hartline, their OC, is headed to South Florida to take that job.
That's a great job.
I picked Ohio State to win the national championship before the season even started.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give you the choice: Ohio State or the field. Who wins the national championship?
You mean the field?
Anybody else? Anybody else but Ohio State? Yeah.
Anybody else?
Who do you think wins?
Who do you think that is?
I think it's Indiana.
Ooh. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think, because this is a conversation we had in the first segment of the show, do you think Miami is good enough to win a national championship?
I think that would be a great game too, Indiana and Miami. Yeah, I think they're good enough. I think they need to stop taking their schizophrenia medicine, because they go one day they're good and one day they're bad, like Florida State. But I think when they're playing right now when they should be playing good.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. They
True.
need to win these games, and then they'll be ready.
So
I think they're good enough, but I don't think they're Indiana good. I don't think they're Ohio State good. Okay. I think those between those two. But I think it's Indiana.
Diesel and I talked about this yesterday. The situation that could unfold with Duke. Have you heard about this?
Yes.
In the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get your thoughts. If Duke were to win, and Diesel, correct me if I'm wrong here, we talked about this on the show Monday and Tuesday. If Duke were to win the ACC championship, there's a scenario in which the ACC would not get a team in the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
No.
Just because you're the ACC champ doesn't necessarily
I
guarantee
think
you
that
a spot
should,
in.
though. I think it should.
Like
that's
it was
what
last
I think.
year.
I think that's what it should. I think it should be conference champions first.
Even with 5
And then
losses?
So the
conference
rule,
champions.
the rule states
You
that
developed your team throughout the year. You developed it for the idea. You fixed the problem. You made changes. You did changes in coaching. You developed new plays. You put them in the weight room. Whatever it might be. You should, if you're made that conference championship, you should be in the playoffs.
So the rule for the playoff is it's the 5 highest ranked conference champions, regardless of what conference you're in. Now, certainly it changed a lot of things when the Pac-12 went bye-bye or lost their power status.
Right.
And now if Duke wins the ACC, they're not going to be one of those 5 highest ranked teams.
Right.
Again, assuming James Madison takes care of business against Troy and whoever the winner of the American Conference is, because both of those teams are ranked, would be ranked higher than Duke, which means the American champ is in, the Sun Belt champ is in, and the ACC would be the 6th best conference champ.
Well, you know what? In that case, unless you get a Miami in there, but I really believe that that's not fair. But I mean, hey, it is what it is.
It's a product of a bunch of
maybe the ACC needs to do something.
Yeah, a bunch of convoluted tiebreakers is how we got in this position where a 10-2 Miami is not playing in the conference championship game. I think Miami would probably smoke Virginia.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
And Virginia's
they're good.
And
they're
Georgia,
improved.
and Georgia Tech.
They're a little early though. I think Virginia's just a little bit early. Miami would smoke Virginia in the ACC championship game, and they would probably be be ranked number 9 in the country by the time the selection show came around. We talked about
Virginia
this.
will take care of Duke.
I think so as well. I think that's going to break the hearts of a bunch of James Madison fans. But hey, it's only a 3.5 point spread.
I know.
So anything could happen.
And those are great games too. And it's going to be lousy weather.
Right.
And Bank of America Stadium, let me tell you, is really cold. You want brown liquor then. I've been there against Virginia Tech, and they're going, "Oh my God, this is terrible."
We got into this a little bit yesterday about this new SCORE Act that's making its way through the U.S. House and would put some guardrails on where we are with NIL and the calendar and all these kinds of things. We've talked to you a lot about NIL and how Ingles got involved in NIL. And not to put words in your mouth, it ultimately didn't pan out the way that you hoped that it would. It
was just all laid on our to be able to make that happen. Fine young men.
So what would it take to get Ingles back into that game? Like what kind of change would have to happen to the system for you as the decision maker to want Ingles back involved in that space?
Well, the reason Ingles did that to begin with was because we were after the fan. Okay. I mean, that's what we do this for. Okay. Yeah. All right. So right now, I think that NIL is taking the game away from the fan. Anything that could bring it back to the fact that you don't have divided locker rooms, you don't have, teams that, are different every 15 minutes, that your coaches are going, to the next $100 million offer. I don't think I see a thing until we get that. I believe in this. One of the things that I love about Clemson is that it is a school that is still traditional in that respect. Okay. And the alumni still love it for now. Right. But, and hopefully the rules will come around that will bring everybody back to a more even keel playing field.
What?
I mean, it was never meant to be this. It was never meant to be. It was meant to be that if you wanted to make a few dollars signing some autographs, you could do it. It was never meant to make $10 million, $20 million, $30 million.
So why do you think that Dabo's program in Clemson is the lone rock in that stream? You hear from a lot of coaches saying that they are traditionalists, that they are faith-driven individuals, and they want things to go kind of back to the way where it's team first and locker room first. Why is Dabo the only one kind of dying on this hill? If a lot of people believe in his
ideals, do you really
ideals,
think he's the only one dying on this hill?
He's the most public one,
right? He's the most public one, but I think I think it's in recruiting, and I think he wants to maintain that tradition of Clemson. Clemson football is a lot more than the Saturday games.
Sure.
Okay. It's a tradition. It's a state of mind. Okay. I mean, it is the most exciting 60 seconds in football, right? I think that he does that intentionally.
Last question for me, Melissa.
And the first school that does it that way will bring it all back there.
Yeah.
Okay. The first school that manages to make it happen without having to buy a new team every year will bring college football back to where it's supposed to be.
Hopefully so. Hopefully. Last question. We mentioned Lane Kiffin earlier. We've spent so many segments already talking about this, but Lane Kiffin, we know now at LSU.
You have to be his post office person. He's
changing addresses. Gosh, wouldn't you hate to be that? I'd love to be his accountant, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Let me ask you, would you personally, Diesel and I have been going back and forth debating all week on whether he made the right decision, should have left, shouldn't have left. I've been defending Lane Kiffin in the sense of I don't think he did anything wrong. I mean, he wanted to go to a better job, and if I got a call today, I'd probably leave too for a better job. Do you think Lane Kiffin was in the wrong?
Well, I think LSU and Lane Kiffin were in the wrong. I think LSU should have given him the leeway to make that decision after his team finished their season.
But
Okay.
that's just a problem with the calendar
That's right. Well, you know,
of recruiting, and today being signing day, having to have a coach in.
you got some colleges that don't have coaches in right
Yeah.
now. Okay, they're seriously.
Well,
ADs are doing it right. Okay, I mean, interim coaches, offensive coordinators, they're all there. I mean, Lane Kiffin has a history of burning
Sure.
down the
Oh, yeah.
barn before he leaves. Okay, I mean that's just the way it is. So I'm not surprised that he made it, but I am surprised that LSU didn't make it a little bit easier for him to fulfill his obligations.
So you would have wanted
He
Lane.
better do good there, because it's not going to be his fault if he doesn't. But LSU is going to sink badly if he doesn't.
So you would have wanted Lane and LSU to essentially keep it a secret until the season is
That's right,
over
right.
that he was going to be their head coach. Juxtapose that with Penn State, who doesn't have
That's
a coach right now. They have 2 commits.
That's right.
2 commits on National Signing Day, and it's awful. They're one of the lowest. I think they are one of the lowest FBS teams in terms of
Then maybe I
where
should-
they are in the rankings.
Then maybe he's going to keep it. Why wouldn't Ole Miss let him stay?
it's a good question.
Because they don't want to let him recruit his own locker room
Yeah,
and bring them
and
all to
coaches.
LSU
Yeah.
in the portal next year,
Yeah, I mean,
which
that-
he's
that's
probably
a-
going to do anyway.
I mean, it's
I think it was a lose-lose situation.
yeah, I do too. I mean, I don't blame him necessarily for this one. I just think that he needs to put down roots.
Yeah.
Okay. I loved his dad, the Tampa 2. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. He did. I mean, that was the first Super Bowl we ever won. Was
Yeah.
the Tampa 2 defense. I mean, Warren Sapp. And, I mean, he's incredible. And I just think he probably has those genes in him, and he put down some roots. He could do really well.
Well, Melissa, we appreciate you as always. I want to let you know my entire Thanksgiving meal came from Ingles Markets.
Yay!
And I don't know if anybody else was in Ingles on Wednesday, but my word, you couldn't move. It's shoulder
I
to
know.
shoulder.
It's that way too.
crazy.
Yeah, that's our busiest day of the year.
Is it really?
The Wednesday before Thanksgiving and the right before Christmas Eve. We still close early on Christmas Eve, so like that last
the
few
last
minutes
few
before,
days before Christmas.
Well, the
Eve.
last few hours before we close on Christmas Eve at 6:00, and then
You're
crazy, crazy busy. Yeah, because people all of a sudden panic and say, "Look, we get like a day
Yeah,
where
yeah,
I can't go to the grocery
yeah.
store," because people are so spoiled now that they just hop into the grocery store to get something.
I'm
here or there.
telling you,
Yeah.
it's a madhouse on
Right.
the day before
It's
Thanksgiving.
like a
Yeah,
snowstorm
it
day,
is.
right? Right.
Well, we appreciate you
Thanks,
as always.
guys.
And thanks so
Thanks,
I'm
much.
so glad you had a happy Thanksgiving.
You
too.
too.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
And
That's
it-
Melissa. Oh, go ahead.
Speaking of Christmas,
Yes.
coming up how about we do this at the end of the next segment?
Yeah.
Next segment's about 15 minutes from right now. We're going to
Yep.
give away Trans-Siberian Orchestra tickets.
15 minutes
Yeah.
TSO tickets, Tolos. Be ready because you'll need to be quick on the phone, if you will. Let's take a deep dive into the Upset Picks Challenge next.
to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Update.
Big thanks as always to Melissa Level of Ingles Markets for stopping by, spending a little bit of time with us. If you missed it, you can go back on the free Odyssey app on the chapters feature, find it there. We're also live on the iHeart Radio app now. Save us as one of your top presets on that app as well. But it is time to get into the Upset Picks Challenge brought to you by Ingles Markets. Let's go to the phone lines and kick the Upset Pick segment off with Delvin, who wants to get his upset pick in. What's up, Big D?
What's up? Before I get started, this is for you. How about our Cowboys?
Let's go. Let's go. How
Didn't
about
they
them?
lose to the Panthers?
They did a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
A long
I
time
don't
ago.
know what you're talking about. What was that? I don't know what you're talking
Hey,
about.
all kidding aside,
Oh,
Delvin,
come on.
all kidding aside, to Diesel's point just now, as well as they're playing right now, I think they're playing as good as anybody in the National Football League. However, you look at the loss to the Panthers, I think that might be what keeps Dallas out of the playoffs. I think they'd have to win out. And look, tomorrow's game is like as big as any game in the history of the past 30 years, just in terms of keeping your playoff hopes alive. But I think that when we look back and it's all said and done, I think because it's in the same conference, Diesel, Panthers and Cowboys, I think that loss is going to be – and Delvin, am I wrong there? Do you disagree?
Yeah, I agree with that. You know what? It's funny you said it. They lost. They win to keep Carolina in the playoffs. If they went out.
100%.
Beat Tampa,
They're a playoff team right now. Panthers are. I mean, they're what? Tied? They're tied for the division, Diesel, I think. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the Panthers situation. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, that win over the Cowboys and the Rams win. I mean, that's just massive. So you just look and we talk about this all the time with the NFL. These games are so important. Like every single week is important. And for Dallas, that one loss, man, that one loss in Charlotte could come back to haunt them. Hopefully not, though.
Yeah. My upset pick, I'm going with this team because they got momentum going in after what they coach staying. I'm going to give you BYU plus 12.5 over I think the momentum they coach. I think they're going to get their get back.
Interesting.
Penn State got turned down again. Just don't turn them down.
Who do they hire, Delvin? Who should they hire?
At this rate, it might have to go to intern coach Terry Smith or go after Brian Dayball.
Oh, that's not a bad option.
Yeah.
Brian
He's
Dayball.
available.
Yeah.
That's not a bad option.
And I think Cookman's going to be happy if Porto too, that John Cross go to Stanford, he's going to take Mickey Cohn with him so they can open up a spot in the secondary.
Well, he can have Mickey Conn, buddy. He can have him today. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. But
when you think about Devil coming to my, he's happy with the quarterback they got now. I don't believe that. I think he's going to go in the transfer.
Well,
you believe that too?
He's been very adamant. Diesel and I have talked about it since day one, and maybe Chris Denson is who he's talking about. But does Dabo love Christopher Vezina more than I think most fans do? Sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans have seen enough of Christopher Vezina to know that he's probably not going to be that dude next year.
He's good.
He's good, but
It's just
is he a game changer? Is he going to
Yeah.
get you back in the college football playoff? Probably not.
Yeah, but Dabo did. Yeah, because he mentioned interest coming. I think he is going to go. I think he's going to get a quarterback. He ain't telling us. He ain't going to tell us, but I think he's going to get one. Do you guys agree? He said they're going to get more than 3 people in the central quarter this year. Dude, he said.
well, that'd be good.
Yeah, it'd be smart.
Good idea to get more than 3.
Appreciate the phone call, Delvin. Yeah, it would be the smart play on Dabo's part to bring in just for the sake of competition, right? I mean, look at Ole Miss. They're going to the playoff with a Division II Trinidad Chambliss. I mean,
Yeah.
can you not find a guy who's going to win the FCS National Championship this year? Go get their quarterback.
What about that Western kid?
He's a little small, but he is a baller.
Is he committed?
He's in the
yet?
portal.
Let me look and see.
The portal. I don't think you can officially get in the portal yet.
That's right. Yeah,
It's
You can't come in.
high school signing day, but it's not
I got you.
portal day yet. So, but I mean, if you're him, like you got to take a look at him, right? You gotta take a look at anybody who is a proven winner, who doesn't make a lot of mistakes, who makes good decisions. At least have some competition. And then if you say, you know what, Vezina, sorry, bud, you're not our guy, have him hold a clipboard. I don't know.
He's been invited to the 2025 Walter Payton Award announcement. That's
How about
huge.
that? Yeah.
I mean, that is Cole Payton, Bo Brungard. I mean, that's it's history, what he did this year. He's impressive. Tolos, we need your upset picks. 844-326-3663 is the phone number. It's the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, phone lines, as you heard, Delvin. That are open as well at 844-FAN-PHONE. We need them in. Let's get, this is a short segment, let's get 15 to 20 more upset picks in. So any conference championship game this weekend is available for you Tolos out there. Diesel, you have yours yet?
I'm not yet, but I do like Delvin's pick there, going BYU over Texas Tech.
The big
12
swinger?
and a half. But no, the big swinger is Troy over James Madison for 23.
That's Friday
and a half
night,
points. Outside of that, you got 2.5, 2.5, 4.5, 2.5. A lot of people. I don't think a lot of people are going to be picking Georgia, Alabama, though Melissa did. She picked Alabama to upset Georgia. I really like this Indiana over Ohio State. I'd be choosing with my heart if I took Duke over Virginia. I'd be hoping for the chaos there.
I've got mine. You ready?
Go ahead.
I'm taking UNLV plus 4.5 over Boise State. The running Rebels.
I like that a lot.
Get it done, Diesel. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
Let's look at that. Let's look at that matchup there and see what's happened over the past couple of weeks for these teams. UNLV's 10-2.
I don't like the way Boise State's played over the past month. I just don't.
Boise State over the past month, they won a tight one against Utah State. They blew out Colorado State. They lost back-to-back games against San Diego State and Fresno State, and then they blew out Nevada on the road.
So are they any good?
It's hard to say. I mean, their defense, for some reason, went from giving up less than a touchdown a game to giving up a ton of points.
That's what I'm saying. Look, this is a different Boise State team than last year, right?
I feel like that's a very good pick because this UNLV team is scoring a lot. And when they get in tight games, they win those tight games. I mean,
Dan Mullen, baby.
Yeah. Dan Mullen's good. If you're Penn State, why are you not calling Dan Mullen?
You literally just stole the words out of my mouth. I was literally about to say
sorry about that.
No, I was literally about to say, wait, should Dan Mullen maybe Penn State?
I mean, how much would they have to throw at James Franklin to get him back?
A lot.
I sent him a weird sorry fruit basket. Or
you've got Scary Terry backup Terry, the interim. You've got Brian Dayball, and you've got Dan Mullen as your three options. Which are you going to choose?
Dan Mullen. Maybe Dan Mullen doesn't want to coach a power team again. Maybe he's enjoying life. Maybe he's out there when he's not throwing headsets, he's throwing dice.
He's doing this, pulling that lever.
Exactly. Maybe he loves it. I mean, come on.
I mean, who wouldn't want to? I mean, coach football and live in Vegas.
Live in Vegas.
I mean, you kidding me?
Better than Reno. I'm willing to make my pick here, Cole.
Right.
And I made my decision to go with Delvin.
Ooh.
I'm going for the 12.5 of BYU over Texas Tech. Maybe the moment is just a little too big for Texas Tech. They're not used to being in this position. BYU is used to playing meaningful football, and those guys are all 40, man. They're like old dudes playing for BYU, and you said it. Got to feel a little juice getting your coach to come back. It was an emotional situation. Bachmeier, 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions on the season, so he's not the most prolific passing quarterback. He's doing a great job moving the ball between the 20s, but he's not throwing a lot of touchdowns.
Man, the text line buzzing right now, Tolos. 844-326-3663. Wherever you are, stop what you're doing as long as you're not driving, and send in your upset pick. Again, 844-326-3663. Even if you've never played before, it is not too late to get in. Get your feet wet. I tried to get Dale to get his feet wet. Dale wouldn't do it. Dale's waiting until next year. The world may come to an end before next year, and Dale's not going to get to put in his upset pick. John Dog getting in. RJ, T-Ray, Jersey Joe, Coach AJ, Keith and TR, Palmetto Buckeyes, JT and Greer Hurricane, Jeff, he's going Indiana plus 4.5. JB, Tim D, John Rhodes, Joey Bruton, Boomer, Bill, Brandon, and Spartanburg, and Leprechaun Leprechaun of Lyman, just a few of all of the Tolos getting theirs in right now.
So Leprechaun of Lyman is the one making the big swing. He is calling for the 23.5-point upset of Troy
Yeah.
over James Madison in the Sun Belt Championship game.
Yeah, good luck.
Oh, my. I mean, he needs it, right, though? I mean, Leprechaun of Lyman doing real well in this challenge this year. Leprechaun of Lyman is sitting in third place with 48 points. He hits this one. Oh, baby, he's got 71 points going into the final 2 weeks of picks, which would be pre-Christmas bowls and post-Christmas bowls. He would need another huge hit in a bowl series, in a bowl game. But he very well could jump USC Justin for second place with this win if he gets this pick correct. And then he's got Dave Mosley in his sights. He'd be only 10 points back.
And we hadn't heard from Leprechaun of Lyman since he got back from his mission trip, I don't believe. So
I think you're right.
If you are still out there, maybe in the next, Thursday, Friday, show a little Leprechaun of Lyman reunion. What about it?
Here's what we need to do. We need to have Leprechaun of Lyman and Mad Crab
Oh,
on the phone
my gosh.
at the same time.
That'd be good.
Before the final selection show so that they can jabber at each
But
other.
let me ask you this, though. Can Leprechaun of Lyman actually have a conversation? Or is it
Does he only speak in riddles?
That's what I'm saying. That's
interesting.
I don't know about that.
You know what's not a riddle, though?
What's that?
This right now, your opportunity to score 2 tickets to go see Trans-Siberian Orchestra on Friday the 12th at Bon Secours Wellness Arena in Greenville, Tolos. You want to win? Be caller number 7 right now at 844-326-3663. Highlights this year: a vinyl debut of Beethoven's Last Night, the return of TSO's fan signing line after each evening show. There's going to be so much going on there. If you've never seen a TSO show before, it is huge. It's a mix of rock, classical, lasers, pyro, a family Christmas story. It is a tradition here in the Upstate, and you could score 2 tickets to the 4 p.m. show for Friday, December 12th. If you're caller number 7 at 844-326-3663. When we come back, Cole, we mentioned it earlier, the ACC is absolutely clobbering the SEC in this head-to-head basketball challenge. Believe it or not, it is basketball season happening right now.
Yeah.
We'll touch on it a little bit next on the Fan Upstate. Well, we're going to talk some ACC SEC showdown here in just a minute, but congratulations to Dale, who scored the tickets to go
Cheater.
see Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
He cheated, Diesel.
How?
He cheated.
Dale, how many times did you call in the last 3 minutes to try to win those tickets? How many different times did you have to dial?
Caller number 3 and caller number 7.
How about that? Only took two. Only took two.
Let me ask
Quicker than your dating life.
When you needed number 5 and I got callers 1 and 4, I was a little disappointed.
Oh,
Do you know how to get to downtown Greenville, Dale?
I sure do, buddy. I sure do.
Well, to anybody, by the way, before we get to you, Dale, there's going to be another chance for you to win these tickets tomorrow and Friday. So Tolos, be listening tomorrow and Friday for another chance to win. What's up, Dale?
Hey, you know what, Cole? Just because you called me out, give me Indiana -5.5.
Ooh. Well, that's not happening. That's not happening.
Oh,
Bad pick.
My wife is a Buckeye fan.
Bad pick.
My family, my in-laws, Buckeye fans. Let me go.
Breaking news. Dale, before the season ended, got in the upset picks challenge. Right?
It's worth 4 points at the moment, Dale. So it's not worth 5.5. It's worth 4.
Better late than never.
Still, you'd be in the challenge.
Better than never. For the first time ever, Dale has entered the upset picks challenge.
It does mean at the very least that he would finish with points.
That's true.
There's not
That's
enough.
true. No.
There's not enough losses ahead.
Yep.
As long as you make a pick every week till the end, Dale, you got to make a pick.
Feeling like a winner, baby. I'm feeling
What
like a winner.
about tomorrow? You feeling like a winner tomorrow?
I mean, can I win 4 tickets?
No, Dale. I'm not talking about TSO tickets. You know what I'm talking about.
I'm talking about. Listen.
I'm
Okay.
nervous. I'm nervous.
And first of all, I totally disagree with the whole Carolina loss hurting us. I don't think it will.
What do you mean it
think
won't?
Because Tampa Bay or Charlotte Panthers, one of those 2 teams are getting in.
Yeah, but
They're
Dale,
both not getting in.
Dale, you lose to teams in your conference, it hurts you.
Yeah, but listen, that's why we got to beat Detroit. We beat Detroit with goals.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I'm telling you, I went and did some research yet. I don't know. I mean, maybe you know something I don't know. I don't know that we're gold if we beat Detroit. I think there's still some.
I think 10-6-1 gets us in, okay? I told you. Well, here's the thing. You're right. 10-6-1 probably does it because of how good San Francisco, Seattle, and the Rams look right now. I mean, you got 3 teams coming out of that, which only leaves one more wild card spot.
That's right.
Okay? Right? We might get lucky and catch Philly for the division.
That's not happening. That's not happening.
Right now.
That's not happening. That's not happening. We're not winning. They
think so?
would have to
Look at
lose.
their schedule.
The Raiders?
Okay, that's the gimme.
Yeah.
But that's the only gimme. Okay?
Who else?
Their schedule's not easy the rest of the way out.
Well, we'll see. I'll just tell you this. I'm nervous.
Outside of the division game.
Okay. I hope you're right, Dale. I hope you're right. I'm nervous. It's a big game tomorrow night. Hopefully somehow they can sneak in.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Fingers
All
crossed.
right.
Thanks for the call,
Hey,
Dale.
thanks, Dale. Appreciate you. Tolos 844-326-3663. Upset Picks Challenge. Get them in. If we can get Dale to get us an upset pick, you can get in there as well. And Cole, there was a little. There's been a late push in this Upset Picks Challenge. Gamecocks Lee has won 4 in a row the last 4 weeks, and he's jumped all the way up to 27.5 points. He's jumped from off the board to 31st place in 4 weeks. What's our excuse? We're getting crushed by this guy. What's your picks, though? But, hey, most people didn't realize. I didn't realize that this was even a challenge until last night. And I'm looking at the score ticker at the bottom of the screen. I was watching Duke versus last night I was watching the Duke basketball game and Duke, Florida. And I was like, oh, there's a little head-to-head challenge going on right now. And I figured the ACC would get absolutely smoked in this thing because that's been the conversation. That's been the narrative over the past 12 months that the SEC is spending all this money on coaches and they're just pulling away. And the ACC is left in the dust in basketball. But, oh, my, a 6-3 head-to-head record for the ACC, the East Coasters. How about that?
Yeah, and 2 big wins last night for the 2 North Carolina schools, and Duke and North Carolina. I watched both of those games, and Duke, Florida was incredible. The way that ended was incredible. South Carolina, the way they ended was bad. I don't know why you hold on to the ball for 23 and a half seconds the way they did last night at the end of regulation. And then North Carolina, I mean, I know every win right now for North Carolina basketball is a big one, but last night felt big, and that's just that's an early win that I know that it doesn't like make or break your season in early December, but I think it does matter, and that's a big win for the Tar Heels.
Builds a ton of confidence for the Tar Heels, that's for sure. But man, what a lopsided game! If you're a Florida Gator fan, you got to be sick to your stomach to know that you put up 42 second half points to Duke's 31. And you still lost by a point. But Duke blew them away in the first quarter or first half of that game, and then Florida blew Duke out in the second half on the road. So I think Florida is going to be a really formidable team this year. But the Duke Blue Devils get it done at Cameron, and it was a sight to be seen. The unranked Syracuse Orange beat Tennessee 62-60. You said it. Virginia Tech went on the road. South Carolina couldn't even get a shot off in that last possession. That's just bad. I mean, at least heave something up, and hopefully you get fouled, and you got 3 free throws to try to tie this game and send it at a double overtime. But, man, that was just an ugly performance there. Oklahoma gets the better of Wake Forest. Texas A&M gets the better of Pitt on the road. Miami goes on the road and beats Ole Miss 75-66. Didn't really want to bring this up too much with Melissa, but Florida State off to a real bad start in the first year of their new head basketball coach in Luke Locks. Just a blowout loss at home to a Georgia team that has not looked particularly crisp.
No.
I mean, they've been winning. Georgia's good. They're 8-1. They lost to Clemson, but they have not been crisp, and Georgia beats them by 30-plus points on the road in Tallahassee. This challenge will continue tonight with Clemson going on the road to number 12, Alabama. 7:15, you got number 6, Louisville, number 25, Arkansas. NC State goes on the road to Auburn, and just like a lot of unranked teams outside of that.
Tolos, let's do this in the very next segment with the championship weekend being this weekend, all of the conference championships. We haven't had time to take a deep dive into what we think happens. Our first look. We've got a lot of good games this weekend. We also want to hear from you, your thoughts, our thoughts on the championship games that we played this weekend, some really big ones. How do we see them going? What are we leaning? We'll tell you next. Well, Tolos, it is championship weekend this weekend. Now, I was going to say this Saturday, but not this Saturday. They actually start Diesel on Friday. We've got some Friday night football this weekend. Let's take a look at what championship weekend is going to bring us. And by the way, Tolos, the Upset Picks Challenge is open. 844-326-3663. We need your name, your game, and the spread. Make sure you get that in quickly, Tolos.
So, I don't know if this caught you off guard or not, but just in front of us, we have set up on location a boombox that is streaming the station, and I hear that.
I heard it laugh.
Is Dan B here?
I laughed.
I legitimately thought Dan B had walked into the room because I'm hearing it. It's like it's one of those things that just kind of you hear it off in the distance. You don't know if you heard it or not. I was like, bing bong.
Yep.
Dan? Where's
I know,
Dan?
That is Dan now, the bing bong. Before we get into championship weekend, let's go to the phone lines at 844-326-3663. Speaking of bing bong, Dewey wants to weigh in. What's up, Dewey?
Yeah, first of all, I got a question from Mad Craft.
Okay.
Who's Miami playing this weekend? Let's talk about that. So I need that question answered. So I was trying to look for it in my upset pick, but I just can't find it.
Dewey, why are you always picking on Madcraft? What did he ever do to you?
What did he ever do?
He graduated high school.
He graduated high school?
And you didn't.
Is that all it takes?
Yeah. Well, hey, yeah.
Dewey, do you have an upset pick?
Yeah.
Or are you going to tell us your upset pick?
Oh, I've been thinking about it, and I'm going to go with, I believe Texas Tech's luck is about to run out.
Whoa.
They suck, and they're not a true number 5 team, so BYU over Texas Tech 12.5.
Well,
I need
now,
the points anyway.
Did you come to that conclusion sober, or were you drinking?
So, both.
Hey, and Dewey,
you can't be both.
And I mean, both, because I was looking at the standings, and I need the point, because we're down at the wire, and there's nothing left after this week. It's a little bowl game.
We're getting down to the wire, Dewey. Hey, and by the way, Dewey, real quick, don't mean to cut you off, but you would be correct that Texas Tech is not number 5 in the country. You're actually right, because they're number 4.
Well, that's even worse. That's a bigger travesty. But BYU's going to take care of that, and it's going to throw the whole playoff picture out of whack. And then Vanderbilt, who got screwed, might actually get in. Oh.
Hey, Dewey, you still there? Did you hang up on us? Hurricane Jeff says, Dewey sucks. Your response?
Well, he sucks too with his hurricanes and snow. Chris Justice.
What?
Snow again.
What?
Oh.
Thanks, Dewey.
What?
Oh, God.
What?
Woo.
You never know with Dewey.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Well, with Dewey, you know that somebody needs to be fired.
Yeah.
And that somebody sucks.
That's true. That's true. Diesel, speaking of this weekend, let's get into it. Oh, by the way, real quick, let me get the text line. Let's see. Coop and Greer got in at 844-326-3663. He said, do y'all think they'll let Texas in the 12-team playoff? Too much money and viewers not to let them in. Good question, Coop and Greer.
Where's
Diesel?
Texas ranked right now? Texas is sitting in 13th place. They have 3 losses. They jumped 3 spots after beating A&M, but they are too far back. And Coop, I understand everything that you said there is true. There's a lot of money involved with Texas. There's a lot of viewership wrapped up if you put Texas in this thing. But we can't make this thing be a viewership invitational. That cannot be the way that a playoff is built.
Is that what it is, though?
I mean,
I think it might already be.
That's
right?
what they're trying to make it.
I know. Imagine, by the way, walking around grocery shopping and hearing Dewey yell. Like you just what a great Wednesday evening. So I'll give you my opinion on that. Texas to Diesel, what he just said, they're 13th. Mm-hmm. They're 9-3. We talked about this. What was it, Monday or yesterday? The loss to Ohio State hurt them. They played a top team out of conference. They lost to them by 1 touchdown, and it hurt them. I think ultimately it's the Florida loss, though, that's going to be the nail in the coffin. I really do. I just think that Florida loss is going to be so consequential, Diesel.
It's ugly. It's bad. to lose to Florida, even if it's on the road, it's bad. But
It's
they
a bad
also
Florida
got
team.
they also got blown out 35-10 on the road at Georgia.
For sure.
So, I mean, call that. You could have called that a playoff game, and their resume would certainly be a heck of a lot stronger if it was like 35-27 or 35-32, right? If there was a close football game, you might be looking at Texas and say, "Oh, well, look at them. They went toe-to-toe with Georgia and Ohio State, 2 top 5 football teams, and they were that close." I know you shouldn't give extra credit for being close. This ain't horseshoes, this ain't hand grenades.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, you're right. It's that Florida loss that sinks that ship.
Shout out to Joey, who just came by
Joey.
and got himself an Ingles gift card right here on Poinsette Highway in Cherrydale. We're here for another hour and a half or so. So
We
we've
got 2 left.
3 left, I think.
Two.
2 left. Sorry.
Three.
Three.
We're stuck
3,
together.
1, 5. We have
Niner.
Eagles gift cards left for you, Tolos. Texter says it'll be terrible for the ACC if Duke wins. Let's see. Madcraft says, for the record, I'll take that on a miniature rhyming fellow on any day of the week. Oh, he's taking
we have a
shots.
challenge.
And by the way, did you see earlier the agent accepted it?
Yeah,
For
Leprechaun's agent. So the question is the Leprechaun afraid to take on Madcraft? Why do you have to send your agent
I don't think
to do
he
your
can
dirty
talk.
work?
I think he only gives poems. He can't have a conversation.
Oh, could you imagine though the Leprechaun battle rapping against
I know.
Madcraft?
It'd be pretty funny.
And Madcraft sings.
He does.
Madcraft. What
does.
if they had to do a little back and forth rebuttal with music?
Oh,
poetry.
God. It'd be hard radio to listen to, wouldn't it? Let's see. Keith and TR gets in. He says, it's going to be another tough year of Lamont and the boys blowing it versus Power 4 teams, SMH. That comes from Keith and TR. All right.
Would you say they were 15th place in the SEC last year?
15. Yeah, 15. 1-5.
Not good.
Not good. No, not good. Friday night. Any conference championship games that draw your interest on Friday? You've got Troy JMU, Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State, North Texas Tulane, and UNLV Boise State. If this were week 4 and this were the slate, nobody would be interested.
Correct.
But because it's conference championship weekend, and there are huge playoff implications on the line, some pretty intriguing and important games Friday night.
Oh, I will be locked into Troy James Madison, because if James Madison wins that game, and especially if they look impressive doing it, the committee's not going to give them a ton of credit for beating Troy, but if they blow out Troy by 35 points in a conference championship
They
game,
need it, don't they?
that puts a lot of pressure on both of the teams playing in the American. Because think about this, JMU's 25, North Texas is 24, Tulane is 20.
Yeah.
If JMU goes out there and smokes Troy by 30, and then this North Texas Tulane game is close or a relatively low-scoring game, which Vegas experts don't expect it to be. The total on that one set at 66.5 points. But if that game is unimpressive, could you possibly see a JMU jumping the winner of that game, especially if the winner is North Texas?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a stretch. But North Texas, if 24 beats 20 in a conference championship game, maybe you flip spots and North Texas goes to 20 at best, right? And then is any performance James Madison can put on the field good enough to jump 5 spots? Probably not.
I really don't think so. And I think I hate to say it, but I think JMU's they're in a tough spot. They're in a lose-lose.
Well, it also puts pressure on Virginia.
Sure.
Because now that's an in-state. Think about that. That's also an in-state, JMU and UVA. But that puts a lot of pressure on Virginia. Now they have to win. I mean, they were going to have to win anyway. But if they don't win, little brother from up the road in Harrisonburg is going to steal their playoff spot.
Well, that's true. They could. And I'll tell you this. I think JMU's done everything they could have done.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're a good team. Ultimately, I don't think JMU gets in. I don't think they do.
I would love to see the lid come off of the playoff for the Sun Belt.
Sure.
Because so far it's only ever been the American and the Mountain West.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that lid come off. I would hate to see a conference foe get it when it's my team on the losing side of that head-to-head.
Well, maybe it's your team that will be the first team to get in.
Well, maybe. Maybe.
Dowell, baby.
I say this. A rising tide rises all ships, right? If JMU acquits themselves well, if they get in, that helps the Sun Belt as a whole.
It does. It does. There's no doubt. Now, Saturday, you have 5 conference championship games on Saturday. Diesel starting at 12 noon.
It's too many.
With BYU
too many.
And Texas Tech. By the way, BYU Texas Tech is, we talked about it earlier, 12.5. And that is your upset pick?
That is mine. So it's an 11 a.m. kick in Texas. Arlington, that's
Jerry World.
Central Time, right?
It is. Yep.
So it'll be an 11 a.m. kick, local time for this team. Texas Tech, they don't have to travel as far. BYU does. They got maybe a little bit of a time difference. That might hurt them just a tad. I don't know.
I can't imagine. I'll tell you this. When I lived in Texas, I did like Central Time. It was perfect, I thought, because you didn't have to stay up as late at night to watch the big games, right? But I don't know, Diesel. 11 a.m. in Dallas. I mean, it's hard to be anywhere on a Saturday by 11 a.m. In a football game being played that early, that'll be a stretch. I know it's a 12.5 point spread. I just don't see this one being particularly close. I like Texas Tech. BYU's a good team. They're 11-1 for a reason. But it just seems like the high-powered offense that Texas Tech has might be indoors, controlled environment. You don't have to worry about the conditions. I think you're going to see points scored by Texas Tech, and I just don't know that BYU has the horses to get it done.
Do you expect that maybe a BYU fan will be involved in some subterfuge and throw tortillas dressed up as a Texas Tech fan? Because it's a 15-yard penalty assessed to the team on the field and a $100,000 fine for the athletic department. You telling me that there's not a BYU fan that's willing to go out there and throw around a packet of tortillas?
I would.
Yeah.
I'd do it just for the fun of it, right? So that'd be interesting. I mean, I was telling somebody this past weekend, I think Texas Tech might be the team that we're not talking enough about. I think they might have something, defensively on the back end. Are they going to be able to hold up against the likes of the best teams out there, the Georgias, the Ohio States? I don't know, but I do think Texas Tech has something a little bit to prove. Get your popcorn ready for this one, Diesel. 12 noon, ESPN in Detroit, Michigan. Miami of Ohio versus Western Michigan.
Oh,
Get your popcorn ready.
Wow. Why are they should just be playing in the parking lot with standing room around the field.
Yeah, that's going to be the MACtion, by the way. MAC championship.
I still feel so bad for what MAC fans have had to deal with.
Sure.
In terms of putting all their games on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights. I mean, I watched a video last weekend, Cole, where a fan went to an Akron game, and there was like 30 people in the stands.
Yeah.
Like he was able to walk up to the VIP area and con his way into like the buffet spot because there was nobody else there to eat the food.
He probably could play if he wanted to. I mean, really, probably could play.
Yeah.
That game not going to be much to shake a stick at. Now, 4:00, ABC, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Atlanta, Georgia. The Georgia Bulldogs taking on Alabama Diesel. Georgia, a 2.5 point favorite. It is going to be a red game, meaning red Georgia. Red, Alabama isn't red. Somebody's going to yell, but
Crimson.
It's going to be crimson and red. Heavy on the crimson, heavy on the red. Kind of a home game for Georgia in a way, more so than Alabama, with it being in Atlanta. I love what Ty Simpson's done this year. 25 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, Diesel. He's passed for over 3,000 yards. He's taken care of the football. I think Georgia, though, has kind of been the quiet team that maybe just hasn't been respected enough. Not a lot talked about him. Gunner Stock.
Yeah.
I love Bama. I think Ty Simpson's likable. He's an easy guy to pull for, and I kind of want Kalen DeBoer to, get over the hump. This would be a big win. I don't know, but going against Kirby Smart in a championship game,
and it's a rematch game.
It's a rematch.
They played earlier, and Alabama won the game 24-21. That game was played at Georgia. So, this is kind of a repeat. I know that it's Atlanta and Athens are a little ways apart, but Athens is basically a suburb at this point. It's hard to beat somebody twice. All those isms, especially when you give Kirby extra time. It's Kirby Smart with extra time.
That's tough,
to
man.
Prepare for Alabama. I think Georgia's going to win this one. Maybe a close game, but I wouldn't be shocked if Georgia pulls away and wins by double digits.
I would probably lean Georgia. I would. I'd probably lean Georgia, but I will say this. Now, look, I watched that Bama-Auburn game Saturday night. It was horrible. It was just meh. It was not a great football game. But I do think there's something to be said about having that it factor. I think Ty Simpson has that it factor, Diesel. I think this is a big game for Ty Simpson, kind of a prove-it game, because he's won big games already this year. But, man, when you look at this game, you said it, Kirby's got extra time. It's in Georgia. You go into Kirby's other house, not his main house, but his lake house,
Yeah.
right? So it's going to be a tough one. I'd love to be there for this one. 8 o'clock Saturday night, it is the Big Ten Championship, a 4.5-point spread, Diesel, in Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium. Just saying, this one might be the best one of the night. Ohio State, Indiana. One of these teams will have their first loss of the season handed to them. Which team will have their first loss handed to them?
Well, before I give you the answer to that question, Isn't it odd that Julian Sayin and Ty Simpson have the exact same number of passing yards on the season? Both of them in the 3,000-yard club. Neither one of them anywhere close to Darian Mensa. That's the interesting thing. He's got them both by about 400 yards.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that one in a second.
Yeah.
But Indiana on the road at Ohio State, 4-point spread. Not on the road, at a neutral site game. ESPN's matchup predictor has this one at 50.6%.
I'll take
Indiana, 49.4% Ohio State. This is just going to be an epic slugfest, man. Both of these teams are playing lights-out defense. We did see Indiana kind of slip up a little bit and give up some points and almost lose on the road at Penn State, but maybe that's a wake-up call, because after that, they've given up defensive performances of 7 and 3. Again, Wisconsin, Purdue, but then again, Ohio State, they're holding teams below 2 touchdowns as well. So
shut Michigan down Saturday too, man.
I think Indiana's going to need a couple of big chunk plays early to keep Ohio State on their heels just a little bit. And if they could do that, if they could get out and run, if they could air the ball, oh, baby, this is going to be a fun one.
Mendoza, man, the pressure's on. I mean, the pressure's on Mendoza, and he has been incredible. And Julian Sayin sitting there, he's saying, guys, what do I have to do to be talked about the likes that Mendoza is? Because I've had a pretty good year as well. You just read off his numbers, and he has. I think this one's going to be the best game of the night. I do. I love Georgia, Alabama. Don't get me wrong, but my goodness, man, these Ohio State's defense is so good. Diesel, they are so good. If you like smash mouth, old school football, watch the television on Fox at 8 o'clock on Saturday night. It's going to be a lot of fun. Last one real quick before we run off to a break and are joined by Bill Bender, Diesel, Duke, Virginia. The big game that everybody's talking about just to see if an ACC team were to get hosed. Could the ACC get hosed? You giving Duke a chance? I'm not. I think Tony Elliott's in a good spot here. I like the Cavs.
Are you telling me that a Darian Mensa-led team, a guy that's thrown for 3,400 yards on the season, doesn't have a chance?
They got a chance.
Come on.
Got a chance.
I'm voting for chaos, baby. Give me 2 G5. I don't give a rip if y'all don't like it. I want to see 2 G5s in the playoff. There you go. It's going to be a blast.
There you go.
Speaking of having a blast, let's talk to the expert, the man himself, Bill Bender of The Sporting News, next.
State.
Well, we're going right to the expert source to talk all things college football. Bill Bender of The Sporting News joins us right now, as he does every single Wednesday during college football season. Bill, I want to see if you can find us a nugget of truth in this whole Lane Kiffin saga, because the governor said that they were going to give him an incentive-based salary that would not have a huge buyout for the taxpayers. Well, that didn't happen. And Lane said that the players really wanted him to stay and coach at Ole Miss, and turns out that wasn't the truth. And Lane said that here was the timeline, and now the Ole Miss AD is coming out and refuting that. I mean, can you give us a sense of something that actually happened, that's actually true in that whole ugly affair?
Sounds like a divorce to me. That's all
Yep.
that sounds like, the whole thing, Not to make light of it, but, my parents got a divorce way back when, and this doesn't sound all that or to what I heard afterward, and, for years after that. But that's a story for another day. I think Kiffin, I've said this all week, and I'll say it one more time. I'm not going to tell somebody what to do with their life. If he wants to go to LSU and coach there and have a chance to win a national championship, and 3 of the last 4 guys did that, I'm not going to hold that against him. The college football calendar, the events that led up to his departure were predictable. I didn't think, and I've told you guys that there was any way he would coach Ole Miss in the college football playoff. And you know what the most annoying thing is, honestly, is kind of hijacked rivalry week. I didn't like that at all. But everything else, I see both sides.
Yeah, I think you're right. What's interesting about the Lane Kiffin saga, to your point, you said it, we've seen coaches move before, so it's not the first time. It was a messy ending. Do you believe, Bill, that the players' reaction of them coming out on Twitter over the past couple of days and kind of debunking what Lane Kiffin said to be false, do you believe that's a bad thing for college football?
Of course it is. But, players leave too. And I'm not defending Lane again. I'm not like his defense attorney. I'm just saying that guys move. And it's more of a business now. And it's not the rah-rah sport that it used to be.
Yeah.
In reality. There is an ugly business side to it that doesn't match with the college football playoff calendar. And another thing I'll say is, you could say, well, John Summerall's doing that at Tulane, and Eric Morris is doing that at North Texas before he goes to Oklahoma State. Well, they're doing Power 4 jobs in the same conference.
Yeah.
With signing day that we're into the count. Can you imagine Lane Kiffin coaching at LSU, but still at Ole Miss and coach being the head coach through signing day? There's no way that would work.
Bill, I'm looking at the 247 team rankings when it comes to recruiting day or national signing day, and I'm scrolling a long way before I run into Penn State. 2 commits, number 150 in the country, behind FCS juggernauts like McNeese, West Georgia, Towson. I mean, it's bad. It's bad at Penn State. And, are they even going to be able to field a team next year?
Now you're starting to see why Lane Kiffin's at LSU. Coach, you better find one quick, because this is what happens when you don't and have 5, 6, coaches that end up signing an extension somewhere else. So, yeah, it's a disaster. It's even made worse by James Franklin flipping like 11 players. I don't know if that number's gone up since I saw it last, to go play at Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
So this has been for Penn State, and that you got to hire a coach at some point. I mean, when you're down to like angry, Brian Hartline took the South Florida job over you, you're in a trouble spot.
So what do you think the best option is, Bill? Do you keep the guy around and I guess admit that 2026 is already a wash anyways, or do you feel like, okay, maybe we can make something of it and go get Brian Daboll? Or That's a good point.
I don't, I'm not. That was if I were in their position, that's all I'm making.
Bill, I understand the notion that you shouldn't be able to dock a team for losing in the conference championship game. But if we're going to put such rigid restrictions around the final week and the final poll and selection into the tournament, then we're really boxing ourselves into a corner to where the conference championship games are just money-making endeavors for the conference. I mean, I understand if the team loses by a touchdown, and that's expected because there are two really good teams in those conference championship games are evenly matched. But what if the team that loses by 3 touchdowns on a neutral field? Should you be able to use that? Because that might be the most accurate predictor of what you might be able to do in the playoff, because you're going to be playing other elite teams like the one that hypothetically you just got blown out by.
I would just eliminate conference championship games altogether. That's the path. Because of all the reasons you just said. And it sounded like you were trying to say Alabama in there. Because that's who we're really talking about right now. We can cut to it. Like, we're not talking about if Duke wins the ACC championship, it's a disaster for the conference. There's no way around that. If James Madison and North Texas will have a winner. Ohio State, Indiana is an awesome game. Don't get me wrong, but it's not semifinal now. You know, this isn't basketball where like a conference tournament championship generates a little more enthusiasm because you get to see more games.
Yeah.
What conference am I leaving out? Notre Dame has to root for BYU to lose. That's about the only. But it comes down to Alabama. If they lose by 3 touchdowns, do we knock them out at 3 losses? Or if they play a close game, do we keep them in at 3 losses? I don't have to tell you guys after watching the college football playoff for 12 years that Alabama always gets the benefit of the doubt, do I? Because they almost always certainly do.
Bill Bender, the Sporting News, joining us right here on the Fan Upstate. 2 teams I want to ask you, who's going to be more upset? Which fan base is going to be more livid? The Texas Longhorns, Bill, or the Miami Hurricanes? Which team do you think is getting hosed the worst here in this situation?
I mean, probably Miami's the easy answer because they beat Notre Dame head-to-head, and they have the same record, and their strength of schedule is about the same, and their losses are a little bit worse than Notre Dame's. But, I mean, if you're basing who you should pick on the playoff by the fact that, like, Miami won against Pitt by a few more points, or the ACC common opponents, Notre Dame won by a few more points because they beat Syracuse 72-7. Kind of ridiculous in my opinion, but Texas has a compelling case. Mm-hmm. Wait, nobody's listening to me. Nobody listens to me anyway, but I just paint it this way. They played Minnesota instead of Ohio State. Beat them. And regardless if it's fair or unfair or whatever, if they were 10-2 with wins against Oklahoma and Texas A&M and Vandy, there's zero doubt in my mind they would be ranked like number 7.
Bill,
Sark had a great case Friday night. Like, I listened to every word. I was like, yep, he's right. Like, if they're not going to take a 9-3 team that stepped out and played their schedule,
yeah.
And I guess your response could be, Florida, and that is true. I'm not glossing over that. It's a bad loss. But good strength of schedule, and they're the only team that's played Ohio State even remotely tough this year. I guess we wouldn't say that if they didn't play Ohio State. I just know that a 10-win Texas team isn't sitting where they're sitting.
So Bill, we all saw what Kirk Herbstreit had to say about Alabama and scheduling in the future. And if you look into their schedule 5, 6, 7 years down the road, they're not playing the Notre Dames. They're not playing the Ohio States of the world anymore. They're going to be playing, the Virginias and the Oklahoma States of the world. So should there be any kind of rules, or what do you think the strategy should be? Is it even viable to play any top 25 team, or should you be aiming to play the bottom tier of the Power 4, playing more games against the Group of 5, and of course schedule your easy win against the FCS?
get rid of the conference championship games and see no automatic berth, right? Like, let me put it to you that way. Like, if we were doing that, right now our playoff would probably be, if BYU loses, they fall out, and then 11-12 would be Miami and Texas. And go 9 out of 10 college football fans and say, would you rather watch Oregon, Texas in the first round, or would you rather watch Oregon, James Madison? And with all due apologies to your JMU listeners, we all know what the answer is. I just, why would you guarantee? I just wouldn't guarantee anybody anything. Say we're going to rank the teams afterwards, and we're going to take the top 16, and we're going to go. And if your conference is terrible, I'm sorry about your luck, but we're not letting the 5-loss Duke team into this playoff.
So, Bill, is that a play that commissioners would actually go for? Eliminate our conference championship game, which is a massive moneymaker, to improve our opportunity to get into the playoff and to ensure a better playoff. Could you get conference commissioners to sign up for that?
I think you could sell them on it if you go to 16. And put the first 2 rounds on campus. You can make some money that way. Why not make? I always hear this part about the money and the conference championships and the money and the money and the money. There's plenty of money to be made if you go to 16 and make the playoff product better.
That's a point.
The regular season product is better because we're not sitting here talking about why Texas should they or should they not schedule an awesome game in September. Like, what are we doing? And I'm sorry I'm getting a little fired up about it, but, like, I think college football's best play now is not to, and I'm the biggest traditionalist ever when it comes to college football, but that's done. Like, so let's make the playoff product as compelling and as awesome as possible so people watch it like they do the NFL, which is not going to be the same as the NFL, but let's do it and go from there. And I think a 16-team playoff, 2 rounds on campus, no conference championship game, no automatic berth. We're taking the 16 best teams and we're just going to go. It would be incredible. But
what about the 17th? But the 17th best team, Bill?
Oh, we do the same thing in basketball with the 70th best team. And we forget about that argument quick. I mean, the only one I really remember from the last couple of years in basketball is like, I wanted to see Indiana State in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But other than that, if you're the 7th place team in the ACC and you're 19-13 and you're crying about now, this is different. Like, I think if we were in a 16-team playoff and so what are the rankings right now? Virginia's 17. In a 16-team format, the way I described it, Vandy gets in. Texas gets in. Miami gets in. You'd probably squeeze another Big Ten team in there at that point. It'd be awesome. And does it screw over the group of 5 a little bit? Yeah. Every once in a while, you have like the Boise State and TCUs in the BCS era that squeak in there. And it's much more compelling than what we're doing with the ACC right now, which I love the ACC. I want to see the ACC get a team in there, but not with 5 losses.
Yeah. You know, Bill, I'm a fan and alum of a G5 team. I get where you're going with this, and the G5, in all likelihood, would probably never win a national championship if we continued down the path that we're on. If they wanted to go that route to push the G5 completely out, I'd say, all right, but you got to throw some cash at us. You got to throw some serious funding at the G5 to keep that new division viable and pay for our national championship or tournament if we're going to go that route. But I know that there's a lot of unlikely scenarios that have to happen to get 2 G5s into the playoff this year. But let's just pretend for a moment that all of those things happen, that Duke wins, that James Madison is in, and the winner of the American is in. I mean, this whole thing is a giant production for television anyway. What would stop the playoff committee from really futzing with the top 12 rankings and putting the G5 matchup as a head-to-head matchup in round number 1? I mean, put them in there as that what would it be, the 12-5 matchup or the 11-6 matchup? What would stop them from doing that?
Well, I'm just saying if that scenario happens and Duke wins, Madison and either Tulane or North Texas is going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
One of them will be 11, one of them will be 12, and then what the next part of that equation is nothing else left to do. Jim Phillips is probably going to lead the hardest Miami campaign ever Saturday. They'll do the press conference. They won't do it about Virginia Duke. They'll do it about this is why Miami should be in.
It's a good point. You're probably right on that.
It's not entirely their fault with all the tiebreakers, but they would have got sued by Duke, so you can't really do it. But I would have said, you know what, you have 5 losses. You're not going to Charlotte. Miami is.
Hey, Bill, my last question for you. Sorry to cut you off there. With Ohio State, Indiana, Saturday night, I said a minute ago, I think, even though you got Bama, Georgia, I don't know. This Ohio State, Indiana game to me just feels like the biggest of the weekend. Is this game, in your mind, more about Fernando Mendoza or more just about what Ohio State does consistently, and that's just play stellar defense?
I mean, yeah, it could be a defensive game. I mean, it's billed as the Heisman matchup between Mendoza and Cheyenne, and I understand that. Those quarterbacks have been brilliant, but these are two of the three best defenses in the country, too. Arguably, maybe the 2 best defenses in the country. So it could be a classic 17-14 Big Ten special, and I've watched plenty of those. I think it's going to be awesome, but unfortunately, like I said, I don't know. It should be an awesome game. I do think it's going to be a lot of fun. The problem when the Big Ten game is at 8, as soon as that clock hits 0, we're not really saying, hey, man, that was awesome. We're saying, hey, what does 1 through 12 look like? And but, yeah, I will definitely enjoy that game. I want to see if Indiana can actually run with them. I think they can.
Yeah. Bill, you're on a little bit of a hot streak. You're up to 12.5 points in the Upset Picks Challenge. This week you can choose from the 9 conference championship games for your upset pick. Who do you like?
Who? Oh, I didn't know we were going into this postseason.
Yeah.
I just didn't be. Okay.
Caught you off guard a little bit.
You did. I think there was 2 that there was one I picked. I think I'll pick Kennesaw State to win theirs.
Okay.
They had a bunch of turnovers the first time against, so I'll go right off the top rope first game. Go get my victory with Kennesaw State and go home from there.
Well, the problem, Bill, is that Kennesaw State are the favorites over Jacksonville State by 2.5.
They moved that line there.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I can give you the lines if you need them.
Let me go Miami over Western then in the MAC.
Okay.
I can't believe I'm picking a rival school, but I'll pick Red Hawks.
Great stuff, Bill. We appreciate you.
Hey, no problem. Have a great day.
You too, man. Bill Bender, The Sporting News, always a lot of fun. He is the best. Tolos. Make sure you give him a follow if you haven't done so on Twitter.
He would be the only person who has picked the MAC championship game.
Let's go, Bill. That's why he's the best, man. Madcraft gets in on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. He says, why not replace conference champions with a toilet bowl to determine who the worst team is? Make it a carnival to make money from the kids. Rebel of all 51, Tiger Pal, Rachel, Mark Elodux, and Philip Rollins all getting their upset pick in.
I do find it interesting that Madcraft is not beating the drum for Vandy right now. I mean, if he is so into the teams that are sitting there at 12, 13, 14 and have a case for getting into the playoff, how come he is only campaigning for one team? True. That's really, really interesting. I mean, Vandy is sitting there with a blowout win over a ranked South Carolina at the time. They have a close loss to Alabama, but they've got a win over a ranked LSU, ranked Missouri, and a ranked Tennessee. Why is that, Madcraft? Huh? Tell me why.
Tell me why. I know why.
Tell me why.
I know why. I know why. I know why. Well, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you why. Final segment, Tolos, of hour number 3 coming at you. And then we've got a very short hour number 4. We're going to get Melissa Level back in. And the 4 o'clock hour, Furman basketball here coming up very shortly on the Fan Upstate. But continuing the conversation, one more call for your upset picks next at 844-326-3663.
He's Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Tonight in college basketball, not as good as the slate as last night, Diesel. We had a pretty good slate last night. But there are some pretty good games tonight. You have locally Coastal Carolina making the trip to Spartanburg to take on USC Upstate. So you've got that one out there. Top 25 matchups tonight. You have Indiana, number 22 Indiana at Minnesota. Number 6 Louisville at number 25 Arkansas. There's another one of your ACC, SEC men's challenge. Diesel Louisville, by the way, old Pat Kelsey, he's 7-0.
Oh my!
Yeah, they're
Off
pretty
to
good.
a hot start.
What a home run hire that was.
Yeah.
I mean that just feels like that's gonna turn out really good here soon for Louisville. Clemson, you mentioned this earlier in the Daily Wire, 7:15 tonight. This is Clemson, Alabama in the ACC SEC Men's Challenge. Clemson 7-1, Alabama's 5-2. Diesel, listen to this. Bama's a 10.5-point favorite tonight. That's pretty big.
Bama's good.
They're good.
Bama's good. Number 12 in the country right now. They've taken a couple of losses already. They lost to Gonzaga and they lost to Purdue. Both very good teams.
Really good teams. Purdue, I watched Purdue a couple of weeks ago. I think Purdue might be the best team in the country. I mean, maybe one of the best teams in the country. They're that good.
Well, look at the output here. Clemson's going to have to play incredible defense to stand a chance. Bama's putting up 105, 115, 85. See, that's Gonzaga held them down. Purdue held them down back into the 80s. But Bama, the last couple games, they have averaged 110 points. Clemson hasn't come close to that. So they're going to have to play lights-out defense on the road.
You're going to have to be big, man. And you know, I think what's so interesting about these early season games, Diesel, that are this big with a team like Clemson, a team with a lot of potential and a lot of talent, but you know, you're doing what we as fans want you to do. You're playing the best of the best early, right before your conference play starts. You're getting tested. Clemson's already played Georgia. Now they're playing Bama. The only thing is you've got a team like Clemson who Brad Brownell said a couple of weeks ago, a lot of these guys just hadn't had quality minutes together. And, you know, these games are different than practice, way different than practice. And I think there's something to be said about just logged minutes, getting those logged minutes. And I think this team will continue to get better. This is a big one, though, tonight. 10.5 points. Give me Clemson plus 10.5. That's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points. And you know what I like about college basketball? It uses, I think, more analytics than opinion. And it's just really hard to have an opinion about 136 football teams. But the computers can spit out numbers on all these teams. And even if Clemson doesn't get it done, if they cover, they might still end up a ranked team after this if they acquit themselves well.
Yeah, you don't want to get blown out tonight.
No, you can't do that. I mean, that would be a momentum killer. But think about it. Clemson has gone overtime with Georgia. They beat West Virginia in a tight, low-scoring game. So Clemson can score a lot of points. They can also get into defensive slogfests. And maybe, you know, it's an ability to play multiple ways and win in multiple types of games. That could help Clemson tonight. It's going to be
fun, man.
Watch.
Let's go.
When we come back, we're going to make a quick push for your upset picks this for the rest of the show here today, because we have to get out of the way and make way for Furman basketball a little bit later on. That pregame show going to start at 6:30 right here on the Fan Upstate.
Clear.
Well, Tolo's a lightning fast segment here to close it out on location at Ingles in Cherrydale. I want to see you here next time we're on the road, which will be 2 weeks. We're going to be out on the road at a different Ingles market in Easley. Looking forward to it. That was always a busy store.
Yeah.
We love that store. Tolos, get your upset picks for week number 15 to us. This is the championship week. You got 9 conference championship games to choose from. I'm surprised, Cole, that we haven't seen a ton of people picking this Troy over James Madison for the 23.5-point score if they get it done. It's unlikely. JMU's playing really good football right now, but a couple of people have taken it. Leprechaun of Lyman, I know, did, and a few others as well. Bill Bender, the only Tolo that's taken the MAC championship game. Does he know that he can pick games that are worth more than 4 points?
No, he doesn't.
I'm not sure if he does or not.
I told him he can only do 4. That was his limit.
But Tolos, get us your upset picks to us. We want to know who you think is going to pull the upset this weekend. And, of course, next week we'll do bowl season pre-Christmas games. We're going to make way and bring back our conversation with Melissa Level in the next segment so that we can disconnect and let Dan Scott, the voice of Furman basketball, connect. And you'll hear him at 6:30 for Furman basketball right here on the Fan Upstate.
Clear.